The Awakening Begins presents a special live RoundTable event with members of the Superconscious Creator Circle and the Collective Planetary Impact Network.
We are celebrating the inspiring transformations of a collective of remarkable individuals who have each embarked on a profound personal journey of transformation. These cosmic beings have overcome significant life challenges, from healing autoimmune diseases and reversing diabetes, to overcoming addiction and recovering from severe trauma and injuries. Having faced and transcended deep personal struggles including self-sabotage, unhealthy relationships, self-doubt, fear, unworthiness, and manipulation, emerging with a renewed sense of self-worth and purpose, they live with the energy of a more beautiful world within reach. Their stories vibrate with the full experience of pain and joy as they walk a path of self-discovery, unleashing their soul's purpose, embodying true self-love, and embracing their unique gifts. These souls remember who they truly are while embodying their fullest potential as superconscious creators.
You will hear from impactful visionaries as we spotlight an inspiring group of unique individuals and creators from the Collective Planetary Impact Network and the Superconscious Creator Circle, including Quantum Shift Exploration Facilitators, Discovery Key Experience Facilitators, Reality Creation Process Guides, Reiki Masters, and Vibrational Energy Healers, each bringing in their diverse specialties in areas such as Kinesiology, light language, quantum energy healing, psychic gift development, breathwork, substance use recovery, human design, astrology, divination, holistic health, and so much more. These are individuals who are dedicated to empowering others with transformational practices. Their collective experience includes cosmic connections, spiritual quests, and innovative healing techniques, all aimed at guiding our planet towards wholeness and self-empowerment with mastery of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Hosted by Aaron Josiah, founder of The Awakening Begins, Aaron is a Pleiadian channel and the creator of the Reality Creation Process, an integrative framework that helps individuals master their consciousness and embody their true purpose. Inspired by contact with the Pleiadians, his work is renowned across 5 continents for its rapid and life-changing impact, enabling people to embrace self-empowerment and experience greater joy. He is also the founder of the Collective Planetary Impact Network with a passion to create systems for a new Earth, bringing together consciousness innovators who are dedicated to creating a rapid, life-altering impact on our planet.
With me today is my co-host and co-founder of the Collective Planetary Impact Network, Isla Lee. She is a light language frequency music artist and the creator of the Quantum Shift Exploration and Discovery Key Experience techniques, a theta brainwave process and zero-point consciousness method. Her work empowers people in developing their source communication to create powerful shifts, reprogram the mind, integrate trauma, and empower physical, mental, and emotional health while expanding their spiritual gifts and abilities. Isla is also a pioneer of telepathic frequency communication, inspired through her contact with the Pleiadians. Known worldwide as Quantum Shift Isla Lee, her work has achieved planetary impact as a result of its ability to create instantaneous, life-changing quantum shifts.
You're in for an amazing treat today as each presenter will be sharing their 7 key connectors, giving you the unique opportunity to see into their journey of where life took them, the challenges that now serve as common bonds of connection, the identities that once limited their past, and how their progress can now be an inspiration to many.
Each presenter will be sharing the alignments they've discovered as they've expanded into new, soul-aligned identities. They'll be sharing what their vision of their future looks like and how they can give and receive support in this community. Welcome to the Superconscious Creator Circle special live roundtable event. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all here. We're going to dive right in. So everybody here, we got our presenters on screen. Everyone else will be in the background. And we're going to go ahead and dive deep into this journey together, I want to share a couple of thoughts as we really lean into what today is all about, creating those deeper connections and really establishing a meaningful ability to see into each other's worlds of growth and progress towards our goals. I think it's definitely a meaningful time when we share our collective journeys as in depth as possible and allow each other and others to see into that. Isla has some things she's going to share in a moment to that front, some inspiring stories. But I wanted to share a couple of things about how this whole roundtable is going to function today. So, when it's your turn to present, you'll get a little notification that'll say unmute. I'll be introducing you. So when you hear me start to give your introduction, you'll know it's your time. You'll get a little notification on your screen that'll say you've been asked to unmute. Go ahead and unmute and then go ahead and share your story. Just lean into it, authentically share from the heart. This is about opening ourselves to deeper support, deeper connection with each other and everyone here in the community. So keep that in mind and let's navigate forward as we create greater opportunities for that connection. I'm going to hand it off to you so you can share some of your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. It's absolutely lovely to be here. I just want to say thank you to all the participants today who's going to be speaking, and also all the audience members who are tuning in for this beautiful stage that we have created today. I just also want to say thank you to Aaron for all the hard work, arranging this event, organizing everybody, bringing everyone together, helping them to kind of set their own little stage to just embody that beautiful third chakras that we have. But I just want to share a little story before we dive in. And this story goes back quite a few years, and it comes back to just creating deeper connections. And the story I want to share is when I first joined TikTok, there was a few people that I started following that just really, really resonated with my soul. And the one person that I just want to point out here today, you're going to hear her speak a little bit later as well, is Mariah. She posted a video on her TikTok. She exercised that beautiful throat chakra and posted this beautiful video on TikTok that just really, really resonated with my soul, to such a point that I felt that I'm going to reach out to her and just say thank you. And if it wasn't for that one message, for that one connection that I created over there, today wouldn't exist. This stage wouldn't exist because one thing led to another. She introduced me to Aaron, and we all got all of this together. We had all these things fall in place for us to just create everything that we have here today, these beautiful connections between everyone. And that is what today is about, is creating those deeper connections, learning from each other, hearing each other's story. Because I don't know about you, but when I grew up, like, you hear one thing from one person and then you hear another thing from another person. But that one specific person has to say it a specific way for it to grab your attention, if that makes sense. So this is what today is about. It's about just creating those deeper connections, sharing our stories, because what people are going to be sharing here today, the speakers, is quite profound and it's miraculous, and it sets the stage for showing how miraculous we all are. So enjoy today, have fun, exercise your throat chakras, guys, because essentially, like Energy said in one of her videos, she's also going to be speaking later today, our biggest stage is our throat chakra. So take it away, Aaron. Let's do this.
Amazing. Thank you, Isla. Yes, our biggest stage is our throat chakra. You guys know this. Many of you have been embracing that. And for everyone that's tuning in here that's not going to be presenting today, learn from the individuals here. There might be something that you pick up in their story, maybe something that you're struggling with, or that you know someone who is struggling with the same challenges that they've been through. And maybe they'll share a perspective or a thought that will be an insight to how they've transcended it or made a change in their life that was meaningful. And then you'll be able to embody that in your own life or share it with someone else and support them in their journey. I'll say on a personal note for myself, what Isla just shared about a simple message shared by one person connected her, connected me, connected all of you. This space would not exist if it were not for the people that choose to embrace our ability to tell our story in a way that allows other people to see the past, the present, and the future of our lives, where we're at, where we've come from, and where we're going. So I'd like to share a thought on the inspiration for the 7 key connectors that we're all kind of working around today. I recently attended a group gathering of folks, and they call themselves puzzle makers, which was interesting because the premise of that gathering was that every person holds a piece of the puzzle. And when we all bring our pieces, we can put something together. So I took the structure that was there and it inspired me. And I looked into all of the great connections in my own life. And I said, what is it that has made those meaningful connections light off? What is it that has sparked that into being so vividly? And I identified these 7 core things: the journey and the challenges that we've been through, how we've progressed through it, the identities we took on in the past. Maybe they weren't authentic, but we identified with that nonetheless. And then who we've chosen to discover ourselves as and identify as we move forward. I was sharing yesterday in a one-on-one session with one of my clients that it's not about creating a certain life in your future, although lifestyle and habits and brain programming is part of it. It's about becoming the version of yourself that exists there, that has those things, that has those connections, that does that. Some people want to speak on a stage. This is an opportunity for all of you to embody that, especially if that's something that's been in your vision. Some people want to create wealth. So become the version of yourself that has wealth. Some people want authentic, fulfilling relationships. You have to become the version of yourself that is a container for those authentic, fulfilling relationships. Some people desire to know their true purpose. That means you have to become the version of yourself that is the type of person that has direction and clarity, takes focused action, acts on a purpose when you have one. Otherwise, you'll never find a purpose if you're not the kind of person that acts on it, because a person with a purpose is going to act on it, right? So to become that individual and then to be able to share it. So when I looked at all of the great connections in my own life, I noticed there's these 7 pillars. And something in one of those 7 areas or multiples of those 7 areas in a given person would stand out to me and it would get my attention. And I would go, well, they've been where I've been. They've had the identity that I've had. They've been through some of the challenge that I've been through. And now they're doing something and they're identified and they're embodying themselves as a version of themselves that is pretty similar to the kind of person I would like to be. And their vision going forward is building the kinds of things that I want to build. Well, what can I learn from that person? What do they know that I don't know? So to everyone listening in the audience today, ask yourself this question: what don't you know? The more you know you don't know. Today's an opportunity to expand that space of knowing and also expand the space of what you don't know so that you can lean into the unknown, learn, grow, and once again, become a greater container for, as I like to put it, a life that you love, creating meaning and value in every area. So today we're going to get started with a very special individual. She's a near and dear friend of both myself and Isla. I want to share a big thank you to her for giving me one of the most incredible, magical experiences of my life. Her and her husband run a paragliding operation. They take people paragliding over the coast of South Africa, and we got to go visit them and go paragliding. It was the most blissful, magical experience of my life. Thank you to Gail McCall for that. She lives off grid in the mountains of Western Cape, South Africa. She's a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network. She's a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey, and she's a qualified Quantum Shift Exploration Facilitator, a Discovery Key Experience Facilitator, and also a guide in the reality creation process. Gail specializes in kinesiology, embedding the power of choice with the reality creation process into her unique expression of energy work and healing. She's proud of herself for overcoming abandonment from her father and anger with her mother, having spent most of her life in a place where she was on the verge of tears. She's now deeply grateful for the lessons that she's learned and the ability to cultivate her own sense of love and joy. And a fun fact about Gail is she's also a highly respected photographer. She's the founder of Cape of Storms Photography, taught photography, at least for a time. I don't know if she still does that, but I think she does. She plays the violin and the flute and loves connecting to frequencies through music and sound. So here today to share her 7 keys of connectors, Gail McCall. Take it away.
Wow. Thank you for that amazing introduction. So I did my throat chakra today, my integration. So thank you for this opportunity to kick off. I was born to a Scientologist father and Subudhian mother, who were both searching to understand the meaning of life. My father left when I was 5 and I was distraught. And this impacted my whole life. Low self-esteem, dyslexia, never felt good enough. I was also searching for the meaning of life. And I was a quiet, shy child, but very observant, and I could feel and know what others were thinking. And I said, at least I had the fairies as companion. I studied psychology, but not formally, most of my life, but more recently kinesiology and Reiki in order to self-heal. But they did not work fully. So my challenges, the biggest obstacle was my trauma about abandonment from my father, and I was bordering on crying most of my life. So I really choked up. And the throat chakra resulted or impacted on the low self-esteem, dyslexia, struggling to put words together, struggling to speak in public. And I was an angry child. I knew I had negative patterns and I knew it was self-sabotage, but I didn't know how to heal this. It also impacted on my health because I was often sick because I was not aligned and I was in so much conflict with myself. So my identity, I would describe myself as lost and hurt and angry when I was younger, but a kind, compassionate person and passionate about learning and growing, curious about the mind and how it worked. I also knew that I had a gift and I was connected to the spiritual world. So my progress, wow. Okay. So what a transformation. I feel joy, like a bubbling excitement within me, and I feel good about myself. I see life completely differently with a new understanding of how we can be the creative forces in our life. I started with a quantum session with Lee about 4 years ago, which was just the start of my awakening, where I discovered me. And I got so many answers to my questions of what my purpose in life was, but they only really started to impact on my life once I started with RCP and QSE. By the way, the answer to what my purpose in life was and everything else was work in the sky. And I'm working in the sky. So everything happens at the right time. And in March last year, I was offered the opportunity to do Quantum Shift Facilitation course and RCP with Josiah and Lee, as they were just about to start their time track. Josiah's RCP gave me a new perspective of trauma, self-sabotage, and negative patterns, which led to the understanding that we do not have to rehash this trauma, but rather integrate through choices and alignment in bringing these fragmented parts of self home to rest with gratitude and love. That was like a light going on for me. That was like the biggest awakening, and it worked. So highlighting some of the milestones of my heart chakra integration with the concept of love and trust, and the fact that we've chosen the people that we engage with and that they play roles in our lives around learning, expansion, and growth. Once I got this concept, I was able to see my father leaving me as a gift and thanked him for playing his role in my life and integrated this trauma. And I no longer choke up over that, which is a big, big transformation. Also led to a much deeper understanding and different perspective of my journey and those around me. My next milestone was trusting my intuition, my third eye chakra integration and QSE, and connecting with source self and guides and myself from other lives, as well as receiving the gift of being able to connect with others' source selves, guides, with their permission, and get answers, guidance, and clarity where direction was needed. This changed the way I practice kinesiology by being able to connect with my clients on a much deeper level, ask questions, get messages and direction, and then surrogate myself to do the balances. Just have trust. So I started combining remote kinesiology, Reiki, and visual energy work. During this transformation, I was studying to facilitate for DKE and QSE and to take this journey of remembrance and discovery so that I could share it with others. The most mind-blowing gift received was being able to work with others and change other people's lives and mine, to see them receive downloads, resolve issues and get answers, and go on a journey with them to discover themselves and emerge enlightened and lighter beings. In my quantum shift, I met my Palladian, my Mintarkan selves, and my fairies who are always around, and received so many profound answers and experienced such enlightening journeys, a gift of remembrance of our wholeness. So my alignment, how would you describe yourself now? A light being. I see the light, I feel the energy in and around me, and I just know things. I trust my knowingness. I love myself and I feel this beautiful heart energy, and I trust the guidance I receive from me. I've discovered the answers of what I think is the purpose to life through RCP and QSE, and I'm very grateful. So my vision, what are you creating for yourself? I'm creating the opportunity to work with underprivileged children and share this process with them so that they can learn to value themselves and feel empowered at a young age, and teach them how to make choices and shift their perspective. I want to combine my intuition and kinesiology and energy work to support DKE and quantum shift sessions that I do with people. I also want to create music, sing my light language and frequencies. That really brings me joy. Exchange that I would like. I would like to use quantum shift exploration in a collective form and facilitate a journey for the collective, such as the new earth and what does it look like, and go on that journey with others. So work with others in this group and have them work with me. I'd also love to share my intuition and kinesiology skills and share how people can balance their meridians, acupuncture points, and self-test. So my kinesiology also works with self-sabotage, learning disabilities, emotional imbalance, and balancing deep-seated emotional issues. And I combined the choices. So once I've done the balance on them, I have a look at choices based on the issues that we're working with, and give them the conscious creative formula to practice daily. So to bring around practicing their balances and their choices daily with the conscious creative formula. But I would love to receive more light language activation. My Lemurian fairy is very dominant, and I am most grateful to all of you, and especially to Josiah and Lee for sharing their gift. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Absolutely lovely. Magical stories, and I appreciate you being here. Next up, we have Hanya Rizk. Hanya is a student of the QSE and RCP Masterclass. She's becoming a dear friend of ours. We got to meet her in Sedona and to work with portals. It was exciting. She's an active member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. She shared with me that her and her family have faced many challenges that could have separated them, and she's grateful to be so close to her loved ones and feel a great sense of accomplishment in being in the present moment continually with her children, loving, listening, and supporting them and choosing who they need to be. We had a beautiful conversation recently in a group about Hanya's passion for the children of today's generation and the education system of our world, and how we can create conscious transformation in those spaces. Hanya is someone that's overcame the perspectives of limiting beliefs and seeing herself as a victim of her circumstances, finding her path to create a shift. She now views herself as a creator, allowing in a much more vibrant experience of life in every moment. And a fun fact that most people don't know about Hanya is that she has performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So take it away, Hanya. I'm excited to have you here and sharing your 7 key connectors.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I'll start with my first key connector, and I took some notes, and I split my journey into 3 sections. My first section is the discovery. I call it my discovery prep tools section. I was born in Iran, moved to Egypt at 4, come from a family of academics and people who are academics on one side, religious on the other side, born Muslim, grew up in Cairo, Egypt, bustling, diverse, experienced all kinds of different things around that, went to an international school, connected with so many people. There was a lot of joy, there was a lot of creativity, there was a lot of travel, seeing all parts of the world. So I call this part sort of the developing tools part. Second part of my journey, I was 24, I moved to Canada, and I started what I call my journey into separation. And I started working for the government, not with kids with learning disabilities, is what my dream was. And I went into the government, into the system straight on, got married, very typical sort of marriage, had 2 beautiful girls, worked really hard in the system, and was very successful in it. With my first kid, I experienced my first bout of extreme postpartum. 2 years into it, I wanted to take my life, and through that, had my second kid. And I think I call that sort of the first, the first sort of sections of the alchemical process of sort of dissolution. And then 7 years ago, my father, who I was very close to and who was a very spiritual man, who taught me everything about peace and beauty and religion in a very beautiful, beautiful way, suffered from Alzheimer's. And he ended up violently killing my mother. And that was the start of the undoing of so many things. Excuse my tears. My marriage fell apart. My daughter tried to kill herself. I got into major drinking, major addiction, went into rehab, and it was one sort of shutting down after the other. After that, I went into a cave, which was the last few years of my life. And it's in that cave that I started to pick the pieces up and started to get awakened and awakened and awakened. The guides showed up from all sorts. The earth angels showed up from all sorts. And it was, I'm a systems thinker. I think high, I put things together. I pick up quickly what the core concepts of alchemy, of sacred geometry, of all of that put together. And I realized in all of this, there was just mass confusion. I didn't understand what was going on. The one thing that did stay through all of this, through this journey and through it, and I remember telling myself, whatever you do, don't close your heart. And it was through that, through the pain of others around me, because the impact of what happened with my parents, the ripple effects, when I look back at it, didn't just touch me, it touched my family, it touched them, it just went farther and farther and farther. And I could see all the lines sort of being drawn in. And it was through that I got to RCP, and I, at sort of the stage of the group, I call it, of the just confusion of dissolution of self, of all parts, just not understanding, that I came in to understand from this beautiful, beautiful group of people, Aaron and Isla and everybody around, of the choices, the understanding, the awareness of parts, to understand, to know that these are actually parts of me, to understand and know that this is all just a reflection of me, somehow made me feel that I have the power. If I created this, I can change this. And my connection to source, my connection to love never went away. And it's through that I just, it is something inside me, and I'm still working on figuring out how that is going to be put into play, that is going to that love that is shared, to share it out, because through these experiences, it's somehow I went from up and down and vertical and understood all the little bits and can feel into people and met so many people in pain and through it, and my understanding of and really feeling the different areas and the different steps. It's like a ladder. It's like every step of the ladder I can feel it and know it, and yet I can touch up and I can touch down. And it's through this process of integrating all these parts through the RCP and other resources around me. And that's kind of leading me to the third part in my life right now, which is this chapter of, I call it the unity consciousness, the coagulation, the higher self understanding, the communication, the expansion, the coming in, the understanding, and the clarity to come in to start something and put something in place, to bring in my feminine and my masculine, to bring in all parts. I'm very grateful to this journey. It is almost like I was able now to sort of step back and look at it kind of like a piece of the tapestry of life that is so touching in terms of the amount of pain, the separation, the hurt, and the feeling, because there were so many elements that I can't get into right now that made me feel into all of this. And when I come out and I think of my identity before, my challenges before I came into the RC, into this program and into these families, I was thinking, I'm like, nothing, no identity. I couldn't feel anything. It was goop. It was nothing. And now my progress has been seeing the different parts of me and the different, it's like a multiverse, like the multidimensionality, and seeing all parts and actually seeing the worth, because unworthiness is a really, really big thing that I'm really working on. So this is where my sort of alignment is coming into play. My vision, it's not tangible at the moment. It's very much around projecting the love. It's very much around creating safe spaces. I apologize for the tears. And therefore, coming together with something like a school project or something to create safe space where people can know these parts early on, self-facilitate like I'm being taught, and we'll just expand the love. Things I need to work on is my voice. This is the first time for a while that I have shared it, and it's very hard. And my worthiness, seeing myself, connecting with that, and connecting with others. And the more I take out the me and put in the we, it makes it easier. And this space has provided that for me. As an exchange, I can provide love. I can provide a safe space. I can't tell you I'm this or that or the other thing yet. I'm still trying to find that. I want to be held accountable for being able to be creative and tapping into that creative side of me. And that's it. That's my journey. And I thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing deeply. It resonates. And I'm sure I saw a lot of people in the chat sharing they resonate as well. So thank you for sharing your story, Hanya. It's been a pleasure. Energy Brock, she's from Oregon in the United States. Energy is a student to the QSE and RCP Masterclass and a very active member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. She's overcome a reactive mindset, avoiding the power of her own voice and learning to use kindness for herself, choosing from her heart space to be her greatest advocate. I absolutely love that when you sent that to me, because when we are our greatest advocate, there is nothing that can ever stand in our way. Energy is a peer mentor supporting teams and businesses and bridging communication gaps, particularly between the younger generations. She has a passion to help younger generations navigate their path as they find their way in today's complex working and evolving workspace. And a fun fact about Energy is she has the ability to see the gaps in situations and systems, and then using her superpowers to discover ways to fill them with aligned components and resources. Welcome today, Energy Brock.
Thank you so much. I am nervous, so we're going to do our best. My journey has been an adventurous one. I started out very young, recognizing I didn't quite fit in, and there was a lot of abuse through my upbringing in multiple different areas. So because of this, I very quickly shut it down. I became a version of myself where I could just, whatever it was to stay safe. So people pleasing became my crutch. And because of this, I ended up flipping my entire existence. I flipped my world upside down. And it took a good chunk of my life to recognize that I was constantly stepping in my own way and learning to advocate for myself has been the biggest challenge, and not reacting from the emotion, but really just allowing myself to sit with it, knowing that there is something here for me. I have to learn something. Um, and it's in our human nature to want to blame the other person or the other thing. And somewhere along my journey, it clicked. Wait a minute. If this is a repeat pattern, what are you doing? How are we maneuvering this? So once that question started sinking in, I want to say in my 20s, I'm 38 now, I started just asking myself the deep questions. And even though I was still maneuvering through my own trauma, there was just something, my inner part of me just couldn't stop asking. So my challenges became, how can I advocate and stand up and share that I'm a person too? I have thoughts too, while also serving, because it is something I love to do. I love to be of service to others. And this was one of my toxic things that I had to overcome, was how can I serve without pouring out too much and being, energetic to carry out throughout the day. That was a very big challenge. And through my experiences, I I've learned to communicate with myself and re-identify who I am, because at one time I was I felt lost, separate. I victimized myself. I didn't know any better, but I recognized this, and wanting to flip this paradigm. How can I shift into this being that I know is possible, that bursting out, wants to be seen? So I spent a good chunk of time getting sober. I learned how to communicate, but I did these things on my own, which then made me feel separate, alone, and craving the connections of others. Well, how can I connect with others when I don't even know how to bond in a deeper manner? It was earlier this year, through a connection, a very close friend of mine who connected me to Josiah and Lee. And all of a sudden, I had made it to the space where I was able to learn more. I wasn't just sifting through old traumas and stuff. I was ready for the next step. And so RCP came. And through RCP, not only did I meet the people that I was craving, I found my family. Not only did I find my family, I learned how to positively communicate with myself. I didn't recognize up until RCP how negative, how easy it was to attack myself. And when you're attacking yourself, it becomes easy to attack others. I didn't want that. And so I pushed through RCP. And another thing that had happened was I wasn't following through with things. RCP is the first thing that I pushed myself, because I want to know more. I wanted more. I wanted to experience the me that is me, this inner part of me that is bursting at the seams. And by moving through this course and really sticking to it, knowing that I was going to find the things on the other side if I could just keep going, advocating for that inner part of me that wanted that thing. RCP has helped me in so many ways to learn to communicate with my inner self and nurture her and advocate for her in ways that I never knew possible. So much so that I was able to take these new skills and I was able to apply them to the work that I do. And that is working with children and helping them to learn how to advocate and speak up for themselves. I would say I am more in alignment with the person I knew was in there, the person that I have become, I'm still very curious. I still love to learn all of anything, just about. Very optimistic. I get this a lot. I get how positive I am. And I used to not be. Like, the RBF used to be a thing for me. It's smiling all the time. And there's this love that just radiates so loud and I can't control it. And I love that. I love being in love with myself. And I am in alignment more now than I've ever been. And I'm so beyond grateful. I have a vision of creating a safe space for children. It originally started out as a foster program, and it's still a possibility. And it is slowly morphed through co creating in this community into a new version of a school, a creative school, a school where kids can tap in. And yeah, they're going to have challenges, but they're going to know and learn who they are and how to move through them in not such a traumatic way. Learning to advocate for their inner self, learning their passion from a young age so they can be the most successful, because they're our future. So I chose to pour energy into our future. That's what I want to see. My exchange, I struggled with this one because I I love to offer time. I'm not I am a good listener. I love to help people find that communication within themselves. I love mentoring and I love just holding that space, that safe space, which growing up I didn't have. And now that I learned how to offer it to myself, I love sharing that knowledge with others so that they can offer themselves. Because once you offer yourself that safe space within yourself, all of a sudden the world opens up and you're no longer alone. The separation from yourself, it's a doozy. But once you reunite back into oneness, nothing compares to the brightness, the love expansion, just all of it is encompassing, and there are no words. I'm so grateful to have made it to this space, and I'm so grateful to everyone I have met along this journey. I hope I can be of service to others, and I hope that we continue to build this unique, special bond that we're all developing. And thank you. I hope I got all of them.
You did, Energy. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Your story is inspiring and so resonant with, I believe, so many people here today, and just everyone everywhere. Like, so many people have faced some of the same challenges, and I see a lot of people sharing in the chat that they feel a similar alignment with your goals. So it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to look at who we have coming up next. Next up, we have Estelle from Cape Town, South Africa. She's a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network and a graduate of the QSC and RCP Masterclass Journey and the QSC and RCP Facilitators Journey. Many of you have met Estelle as the first face you've spoken to on your way into this community. She's done a lot of dedicated work to supporting Isla and myself in building the Collective Planetary Impact Network. Estelle is a qualified Quantum Shift Exploration Facilitator, a Discovery Key Experience Facilitator, and also a guide of the reality creation process. She's a quantum energy healer with an accurate and powerful ability to see into the energy field of her clients' chakras, facilitating an expansive and refreshing flow of energy that empowers physical, mental, and emotional shifts. A little fun story I want to share, Estelle, before you get started. There's this one time Estelle phones me up and she says, "Hey, are you doing okay?" I said, I'm a little stressed right now. A lot's going on, but like, I'm okay. And she's like, "I keep getting this image in my third eye, and it looks like there is a hole in your solar plexus. It appears as if like somebody shot a bazooka through your solar plexus. There's this just giant gaping void there where your solar plexus is supposed to be." And I said, "Well, that feels about right, because I am out of energy. I'm out of power. I'm like feeling very drained." And so she goes and she does some of her energy work with me. And shortly thereafter, I think it was within the hour, I was feeling completely charged back up, like somebody had turned the lights back on. So with a lot of gratitude to Estelle for her work, she's deeply connected to the cosmic nature of the universe, and her journey into this work has been guided by the Pleiadians and other galactic beings. Estelle, take it away.
Hi, Josiah. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. Yes, I feel like I'm going to go for exam now. I'm quite nervous about this, but yeah, I'm just going to speak from the heart. So my journey started, I can't remember how long ago. I grew up in a very conservative household, in a very safe space. And being in a safe space, when you think a bit differently, the way I used to think, it was frowned upon. I was always like, I'm wrong or different or weird or whatever, but continued my journey and always knew I wanted to help people. My biggest dream was actually to study psychology, but being in a conservative household, my father felt like I had to go study something in the food industry because that's what women do, which I did, and I'm grateful. I learned a lot. It took me places in the world, but either ways, I had this urge to help people and grew up, got kids. My first child passed away, and looking back now, I realized that that ignited a lot of my growth and expansion to where I am today. I didn't realize it then, but I do see it now. So after that, obviously, I had a very, very bad marriage. Once again, something that's shifted me into the space that I'm in now. And at some stage, I had to make decisions and choose for myself. And I thought, you know what, maybe it is time to choose what I want, what I've always dreamed about, helping people. And through the therapy I had with my divorce, I realized hypnotherapy was very helpful to me at that stage. And that's why I actually had my first introduction to just brainwaves and subconsciousness and just not your straight brain, but thinking deeper. And I looked into it and I realized you can study hypnotherapy. And I thought, well, that's my key of helping people. So I started studying hypnotherapy. And whilst I was on that journey, we were away on holiday, and the house that we stayed in, the lady that passed away was actually still there, and I connected with her. And while I was sleeping one night, she woke me up and she said, go find somebody that's going to be your key. And I started searching, and eventually I made a lot of phone calls, a lot of contacts, and I stumbled across Ayla Lee. And the moment I spoke to her, I just immediately knew this was the connection. And through that, I got introduced to Josiah, to Erin, and did the RCP and the QSE, and was so blessed to step into the facilitators course as well. The challenges I had at that stage was, obviously choosing something for myself, choosing something that I wanted to do. I've always did what I was told, always did what I thought was expected from me. And now expanding into a space of actually doing what I want to do, and then stepping into the space of actually having to believe in myself. So that was quite a challenge for me. What I didn't realize was when I actually stepped into the space thinking I was going to help people, RCP came and it just hit me right between my eyes. And I realized that actually this journey is for me. It's not to help other people. And it just expanded into everything beautiful. I started this journey having no direction into really what I want to create, but just seeing what I can create and stepping into that space of creation it was just magical. I think my key moments were the day I did the root chakra integration, and I saw the most beautiful vision of a self-sabotage pattern that I didn't even know I had. And that was a wow moment. When I had my first QSE session with Ayla Lee, that was such a wow moment for me, and just connecting with Source at that stage. And the most beautiful thing happened during my QSE. When I asked what my purpose here is on earth and what I can do to help people, I saw the most beautiful vision of me standing with rainbows coming out of my hands. And I realized I had to do something with energy work. I had to do some type of energy healing. And the only energy healing I was really familiar with was Reiki. So I ended up doing a Reiki course, and I did Reiki 1. And the lady that facilitated the course, the Reiki master, when I finished, I said to her, well, I would like to try some hand movements on her. And the moment I started putting my hands on her, she started shaking and levitating, and she went like, "You're not doing any Reiki here. This is Pleiadian energy." And I just saw Pleiadian guides coming in, and I realized just how magical this journey is and how much you can really expand into all of this. And that's where my journey as an energy healer started. I never even knew I could do this, but through RCP, through QSE, and just getting into this connection with source self, I started seeing opportunities and started expanding from there. My self-sabotage patterns have stopped because I realized now what I was doing. The positivity that came into my daily life is just amazing. I now realize whatever I do, how it affects other people. I remember there's a part in the RCP course where Erin talks about everything you do is like a pebble and it ripples out to people. And that vision just stays in my head, knowing that I'm that pebble and whatever goes out is what people perceive and what people receive. And I've also realized that I can choose what comes back to me. And that is just such a beautiful space to be in, knowing that you are the creator of everything around you and you don't have to be affected by whatever happens around you. The biggest wow moment was when I also realized that everything that comes into your life is actually emotionless. An event doesn't have an emotion, but we attach an emotion, we attach a feeling to it. So you can choose whatever feeling or emotion you want to attach to an event that comes to you. And that gives you such a powerful feeling because you are in charge of everything in your life. And that was just such a total expansion into where I am now. My whole life's changed. My kids are just so much more relaxed because I can guide them in the correct way of approaching situations, talking to people, seeing situations, which I think is the biggest blessing to give to them. I'm so thankful for this journey. I've met the most amazing people. I've met everybody I work with, some colleagues, Harriet, Karine, everybody I work with, and we help each other. We do sessions on each other. Going forward, we stepped into a space where one of our colleagues, Harriet, is actually busy working on some integration, and he asked whether I would like to work with him on it. And we decided to work on the topic of self-confidence. And as we started working on it and started doing integrations, I stepped into a space of started channeling, which I wasn't even sure I could do. And stepping over, my Pleiadian guides were guiding me. My Lyrans are now stepping in. And the most amazing thing happened last week while we were busy channeling. My cat was lying next to me. And as I was looking at my cat, the cat transformed into a human face. So it's just energies coming through. And the connection I feel with the universe and with everybody around is just so amazing. And the topics that we've channeled that's coming through is life-changing. We've unpacked what worry is. We've unpacked what self-confidence is. And we're actually talking about going forward, putting this in a book. And because this is stuff that people need to know and just inspiring people. I'm so excited. I think if I had this conversation a year or two ago, I wouldn't have known what to say, but the excitement and the joy that this whole process has brought me is just, it's life-changing. And every single person that I speak to, I'm just so excited for them to just get into the space, because there's nothing better. Living the life you love, what's better than that? And I'm so grateful and so thankful for every single person that crossed my path and every single person that got me to this space. It is magic. Thank you so much. And I will just keep on spreading this amazing journey with everybody, because I wish everybody can experience what this journey has done to me. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Estelle. Thank you. It's an inspiration. Another little fun fact about Estelle, I think she holds the record for the fastest completion of one of these in-depth integration journeys. And by that, I mean going from a place of being so fresh to all the material to complete embodiment of it. You were like a lightning bolt, came out of nowhere. When we met you, we said, this woman is on a mission. She has somewhere to be. I'm not sure if she realizes it, but the energy you walked into this journey and you continue to walk in as an inspiration to myself and so many others. So thank you so much. Next up, we have Todd Spooner. He is from Iowa in the United States. He is a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey. He's an active member of the Superconscious Creators Circle. I've had the honor of sharing journeys with Todd to Egypt to watch the eclipse and also to Sedona. He is an inspiration to many people. Todd feels like he's accomplished one of the big achievements of his life, which is to remember who and what he is, live out his soul purpose by being an example of what he was put here on this planet to be, even before his spiritual awakening journey started. He's proud of himself for learning to put himself first and not allowing others to manipulate him, recognizing the full importance of loving himself and truly embodying it, reminding himself every day that he is a bridge of support for all of humanity as we all walk that journey of remembering who and what we are. A fun fact about Todd is he was a wrestling coach for, I believe, over 30 years. And I also watched him travel at light speed inside the pyramids. I just recently found out that the northern GPS coordinates for the pyramids match up with the speed of light in meters per second, and the western coordinates of the pyramids match up with the phi ratio, which is the ratio between the square of the pyramid and a circle placed at the space of the king's chamber. So lots of love to Todd. Excited to have you here. Welcome, brother. Sharing his 7 keys of connection, Todd Spooner.
Thank you, Josiah and Isla, for hosting this. Greatly appreciated. And the people that are watching it. It brings big joy to my heart, and thank you. My journey, when I was born, I had no awareness of who and what I was. My mind and soul was a clean slate, being created through love of my parents. I learned from my parents. My perceptions of who I was came directly from my parents. This is where the programming of who and what I was started. My challenge is, what were your biggest obstacles before starting this process with QSE and RCP? Myself, being a father of 3 boys, wanted nothing but the best for them. However, looking back, I can remember being asked, "Dad, who is that under my bed?" Or being told that they had a conversation with an imaginary friend, only to be told that that friend under your bed, he really isn't there. Or that imaginary friend that you are talking to, just ignore him. Not thinking or giving them the time of day to ask questions of how they felt or what the conversation was about. Not allowing them to expand their curiosity, their minds, and gift we all were given at birth. Shame on me for steering their perceptions away from who they were and possibly teaching me to remembering who I was. My identity. I was in the same place my kids were at, not being allowed to expand my curiosity, my mind, and my gifts. Not from the hate of my parents, but from the misunderstanding of my parents, not remembering who and what they were when they were born. You see, as we grow up, our perceptions of who we are being hijacked and stolen on a larger scale. Government, religion, world events, and the color of our skin are just a few of the ways our perceptions of ourselves are being stolen. Creating this vicious cycle challenges us to remember who and what we are. Through the reality creation process in the support team, I have been able to remember who and what I am, my alignment. I'm the creator of my own reality, knowing I have the gifts and powers to steer my life the way I truly want to live my life. My vision, I'm currently building a following on TikTok to, in the most comprehensible way, support humanity in remembering who and what they are and always have been. Seeing is believing. I would like to create a podcast highlighting the powers and gifts the kids have through telekinesis, levitation, amongst others, eventually creating venues worldwide that highlight our kids' gifts and powers. My exchange, I desire to keep walking the walk and talking the talk that I was created to be, and allowing others to do the same and supporting them as one. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Todd. It's a pleasure to have you here. I love the visions and how deeply your heart goes out to all of the gifted children in our world today. There's so many more of them being born, and it is definitely a time for all of humanity to embrace supporting the next generation of awakened souls. So it's a pleasure to have you here. Next up, we have Sigrid from Norway. Sigrid is on a spiritual quest to understand the greater truth within herself and our world. She's a student of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey, and she's an active member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. She's proud of herself for having overcome an unhealthy relationship that she knew wasn't good for her, finally giving herself the greatest gift possible, which was to choose herself. She also feels accomplished of having healed herself within just 2 months of doing conscious work from an autoimmune disease for which there is no cure. So this is exciting. I'm excited to hear more about your journey, Sigrid, as well. Fun fact about Sigrid, when she was young, she was convinced that she could fly if only she trusted herself enough and had no fear. So she tried many times to jump off the couch, as I'm sure many of us had done. Thankfully, she didn't try to jump off the barn roof like some of my siblings' older friends did when I was a kid. But I too believe that we could fly, and that as children, maybe there was a day when we had the ability to. And like Todd was saying, our perceptions get shaped into limitation by the world around us at such a young age. So, Sigrid, handing it off to you all the way from Norway. I appreciate you being here. Excited to have you share your 7 key connectors today.
I kind of made my own system of how I want to spend my 7 minutes as I follow the 7 key connectors. So I just want to start about telling you about who I was. My past, I grew up in a very loving and stable big family. And I always loved being home, and I was always very curious about how the world worked and asking questions. And I grew up Christian and always identified myself as a Christian. I think I needed the worldview, as a foundation of my existence. And I always had a very close relationship with my mother, and she is a very spiritual Christian, and I trusted her with all of me. Something that defined me was losing my childhood best friend, and I realized now that it triggered a lot of like my social issues and social anxiety. And over like when I hit puberty and stuff, I became very much a shell of myself, like closing my heart, and I preferred being alone. I couldn't relate so much to other people, and I always have been a very independent person. And I decided that for high school, I would move away to this Christian boarding school where I got friends and got to really evolve myself more. But that's also the time when I got diagnosed with this autoimmune disease. It's called ulcerative colitis, which is like an inflammation in the intestines. And I was told I would have this for the rest of my life, and it would only get worse and worse. And I moved to another place when I started university. And I've always struggled with these periods of very low energy and low self-esteem, like these depressed periods, like every year. But at the same time, I grew very close to my sister, and we could relate to everything. I've always needed to have like a very closed circle because many people easily overwhelm me. I started also at this time to get a lot more curious about the world. And many things led up to my awakening because I was quite comfortable in my worldview, and it never made sense to me that everything was as realistic as it seemed. Being Christian, this made sense. But I was also very curious about a lot of different things on how the world works. So science, math, human history, and ancient civilizations, psychedelics, and psychology, and the immense variety of human experience was subjects that really interested me. And I started to question my belief system, as Christianity, it wasn't a big enough container with all of these new things I was learning and understanding. And I was slowly opening up to these spiritual concepts almost unknowingly. And this was 2 years ago. And last August, I felt really drawn to go to join a sailing trip in the Mediterranean. And I randomly, very randomly, got the chance to attend a plant ceremony. And I had just read a book about psychedelics, and I was like in awe of, oh, how could I get this chance to do this? So I took ayahuasca, and that was the catalyzing factor for my awakening. And it was both terrifying, worse than dying, and also amazing, as I remembered who I was, and that everything behind everything there is love. And I didn't realize until after the sail trip that I was getting into spirituality. And the skipper on the sail trip, he was immensely helpful to me, as my whole world understanding was shattered. He was the first introduction to all of this, and trying to explain to me how everything is energy, and we had these daily conversations. And he was also the first person to tell me that I didn't have to have this disease, that I could heal myself from it. It was an amazing experience. And the first months after the trip, I was really high on life. I opened up my perception on reality, and it made me really glow. And realizing like I had chosen this life and that I was eternal, and then the pieces just fell together very satisfyingly with all of the things I've been wondering before. Yeah. And it was a huge identity shift for me, as I feel like it felt like a part of me really died on that sail trip, and I didn't come home the same, and I felt really alone, as no one around me could really understand my experience. And I tried to tell my sister, since we were so close, but she found it very, very scary, as she held her own Christian beliefs about the world, and that was really hard for both of us. And 2 months after my awakening, I stopped taking my medication after a lot of intentional efforts put into healing, visualizing, opening up blocked parts of me for healing, and stretching, meditating, and being in nature more and feeling connected. And the symptoms stopped, and I celebrated my achievement as a great confirmation that I was on the right path. My family is still in disbelief about how I did this, and I have tested the waters on how I can connect with my mother about this, but I sense that she's not very open to the idea of ayahuasca, and since it's a drug in her eyes, I couldn't make her understand if I tried, I think. I also longed very much for people I could relate to about my experience, someone who could understand, and I knew fast that I needed to move someplace new and find someone that resonated, and I manifested this place. And as requested, I stumbled upon these random people in the forest, and I was looking for a new person for their collective. And I immediately opened up about my experience and decided to move in January. And I have lived here since. And then I stumbled upon this course in April, and I really felt like doing it, as my hunger for understanding and self-development never ceased. So now I am where I am now. I'm taking this course very slowly, as I have realized I have a lot to work with. It has really brought up so much of my dark sides that I wasn't aware of. And I always identified myself as a very stable person, besides from the depressed periods I have each year. But I realize how many parts there are of me that has needed my attention and compassion. And I've become so much more sensitive than I allowed myself to be before. And that is both amazing and super hard. But I know I will never give this up. And I'm definitely on this journey of self-discovery and remembering. And my vision, I'm finishing my last year at the university, but I have no plan of making a career of it. I want my next years to be completely open and full of travels, exploration, and discovery, and find peace in myself. I feel very called to this. And there is a meaning behind me embarking on this path, though I don't know exactly what my part will be in bringing this light. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sigrid. Absolutely amazing to have you here. What an inspiring journey. I love the power of that simple suggestion that the skipper on your sail trip gave you, that it doesn't have to be this way. And then you went and chose a different way for it to be. So thank you so much, Sigrid. Next up, we have Kevin Maizenga. Many of you in the community know him because he does the super conscious breath work. He's from Colorado. He is a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network and a graduate of the QSC and RCP Masterclass Journey. He's a Soma breathwork coach, a facilitator of multiple diverse breathwork modalities, and also a guide in the integrations with the reality creation process and superconscious methods. He has a deep passion for creating health with detoxification of the mind and the body. After his journey with QSC and RCP, he was inspired to create what we now call superconscious breathwork, a method that's shared here in this community and in the QSC and RCP masterclass. Kevin finds himself constantly supporting others in their self-expansion and empowerment through mastery of the breath and embodiment of clean and healthy lifestyle choices. Welcome, Kevin. It's an honor to have you here to share your 7 key connectors.
Thank you, Josiah, for inviting me. I'm going to speak from my heart and get vulnerable. Let's start. So I came into this world. I had a very traumatic birth, umbilical wrapped around my neck. So most of my childhood, I didn't feel safe. My parents were divorced when I was really early. I witnessed a lot of fighting. It really made me look at relationships as unsafe. So I closed my heart off at a very young age. And my relationship with my father was very difficult. He always put a cap on anything I had to say, which created a not very strong belief in myself, which led me into a life of addiction. And that's pretty much the biggest struggle I've had in my life for over 20 years, which I've recently overcome. And I'm on the other side of that. My mom, she was an alcoholic. It runs in our family. And early on, I learned that's how I coped with emotions. That's how I just drowned in myself. And like I was always searching for this connection. And it turned out to be drugs and alcohol were what made me feel better. They were always there for me. And so I embarked on this 20-year plus journey into addiction. And then there's some pretty dark spots. Everybody's story is different. I guess this was what I had to deal with. So most of my life was a struggle, challenge I didn't know myself. This is how I coped with life. And into my 20s was pretty much a blur. I didn't, all the fun I had was because of these substances. And then it turns out that they're really not fun. I had a friend that, even though it was mostly negative with this guy, he took me into the depths of this, and there's so much of this suffering happening. The stuff that I saw is so sad and difficult, but I always had one foot in. I always had this feeling that I'm here for something bigger. So I have to keep one foot out. I can't go. I watched my friends overdose and die. I myself had overdosed twice. So I had this feeling like I'm here for something more. I don't know why I was going through all this depression, all this anxiety. And in my 20s, I was about 25, I'd always been dabbling with psychedelics, mushrooms, and LSD, but I had an experience with DMT that was life-changing for me. Out of body contact with another intelligence, and that really shattered my whole perceptive of reality. I wasn't even really thinking about that stuff. I was so in the depths of addiction. And this showed me that there was something more, and I was just immersed into this field of unconditional love I've never experienced before. And for about 2 weeks, I was trying to integrate this. It was totally changed after this experience. And that started my path into spirituality. I was so interested in all this stuff, something awoken in me. I wanted to do yoga, meditation. I started researching, reading anything I could on these subjects, but I was still in the holds of this addiction. So it took the universe 2 DUIs. I mean, I never wanted to have a job. I never liked being tied down. So I was growing marijuana for a living, doing whatever I can to do whatever I wanted. And this kind of stems from having no structure. My mom was an active alcoholic when I was growing up. My dad was gone. So I could do whatever I wanted. And I ended up getting in some trouble with the law. I was making hash and had an explosion in the basement. I had this clear voice come in to me, get out now. And I was the last one up the stairs and the basement exploded. Well, I would have been dead or fried to a crisp if that voice, that guy didn't come in. And that really turned my life upside down, but I knew it had to happen. Like I've had all these other signs like this is killing you. You need to change your life. And anyway, that got me sober for the first time. And that was 2016, New Year's Day into 17. And I was forced to. I was getting tests. Took a little bit, a while. I failed, but eventually I had to do it. And I did get sober. And that got me going to yoga. I started doing yoga every day, started meditating, started taking care of my body. This is the first time I got into a detox cleanse. I did a 11-day juice fast, and that was life changing. The stuff that came out of my body was incredible. Anyway, it was like a 1,000-pound weight lifted over my head, and I could see clearly. And there was still something missing. I was going to yoga, doing everything, and I was still had all these patterns from addiction going on. I was still hanging out with the wrong people. So, and then I had this message. I had a mushroom experience, and I had this strong vision I need to go to Peru. So I also have some experience with plant medicine. So I went and sat with some shamans with ayahuasca in San Pedro. And me, honestly, it was the hardest experiences I've ever been through. They shot like a beam of light shine on that I hated myself. And I didn't even know about trauma. I was talking to someone there. I was like, I don't have trauma. I don't have any of that. Well, it's like, wow, you're pretty lucky. Little I know this experience was the very beginning of me starting to look at this. And it also brought me to the breath. I was having a extremely difficult experience, and the breath was the only thing that could anchor me into the body and have the discomfort stop. This was the first time I got introduced to the power of the breath. And I couldn't let go in these experiences. I just had so much resistance to letting go. I came back to the United States and I got guided to Kundalini yoga and breath work. And I asked during this experience, like, there's got to be some other way that can help me. This is difficult. And sure enough, I got introduced to breath work. And after that experience, this was the first stint of sobriety that I had that was about 2.5 to 3 years. And this is when I got really heavily into Kundalini yoga and breath work. And I found that this tool was the only thing that I felt a deep connection to myself, to my soul, to my higher power. And I loved it. Every time I did it, it's like, you got to learn this stuff, you got to teach it. And this is when I started doing the teacher trainings. And during that time, this is around, I went to Peru in 2018 and into 19. I'm learning all this stuff. I'm like, wow, the past is the past. This is great. I did a Reiki training. I started teaching breath work to small groups, and one thing I didn't let go of, I didn't let go of the past. I didn't let go of the people that I was in that addiction with. And after the 3 years, this one particular guy that had taken me into the darkest realms of my life, he was still around, and I ended up going back into addiction for 4 years back, and I hit this plateau again. I lost all connection. I firmly believe addiction is disconnection and the opposite is connection. And we're trying to find this connection, and and if we don't find it somewhere, we find it elsewhere. And that's what happened to me again. So I went down this dark rabbit hole again, lost all motivation towards spiritual growth, just felt like I was really, really depressed and down for these last 4 years. And that was up until last year. I was in Sedona, and I had never had a reading, a palm reading. I went into the psychic, and she did a tarot reading for me and looked at me and started telling me all this stuff. And I had an intuition about it. Like I knew my life was coming back. Like there was this energy shifting. She's like, you're gonna meet a couple people, a guy and a girl, very soon that are gonna help you out of this, and you're going to start meeting your family, your soul family, just a community that's like-minded. Because I always shut myself out. I thought I was different and couldn't connect. So this is what this whole process has helped me with. So anyway, I met Josiah, and funny how it worked. It was with Allison. I was doing a breath work on the phone, and I guess she was got on my phone and was listening for like 10 minutes, and I had no idea. So I get a text, and she said, I just did breath work with you for 10 minutes. That was great. And so I got on a call that day with Josiah, and that's how I began this process with him. I did a one-on-one coaching, no idea what was going to come about it. And as we start going through, we start like, what are you passionate about? It's like, well, I like breath work. I kind of put that on the back burner for the last few years because I fell back into this pattern. And sure enough, I started coming out of my comfort zone with this. I've always been scared to be seen, to be on camera, to share anything. And Josiah and this reality creation process helped me make those choices, put myself in uncomfortable places, and just show up and follow through. I'm doing these integrations. I noticed this shift, this very subtle background shift. Something's happening, and with his support, I started guiding. I was like, I'll do a couple breathwork sessions for the community, and that's how it started. And then it evolved into let's do a 13-week journey. And I had no idea. Like a lot of it just came intuitively. We winged it and put myself in these uncomfortable places and following through with these choices I was making, going through the huge wall of resistance I had, and just showing up every week, doing that process, making the choices. And yeah, everything started to shift for me. And I went through that process. And during that time, I was still struggling with the addiction. And I knew that was the wall, like into this new life I love fully. This is the biggest wall right here. And then through that process and making these choices, at the beginning of this year, I can now say I'm 4 months sober, never want to go back. And through all the work with RPC, I know that was a catalyst of getting through this last hurdle I had and staying connecting to this community, because my biggest struggle has been connection. I shut myself off so early. I shut my heart off, and making these meaningful connections have been extremely hard for me. So this community has given me the opportunity, and now I'm transitioning into this new aligned version of myself where I want to help people overcome what I've overcome. I've been through it. I know addiction well. I know the tricks the mind plays, and breath work is a vehicle that's helped me tremendously. And I honestly see this as massive problem on the planet. And it doesn't necessarily have to be substance, addiction to thought patterns, addiction to whatever. There's just so much of it, and it is the cause of disconnection. It makes us isolate, and that's where I found myself in. So yeah, my vision going forward is to keep moving forward, keep going out of my comfort zone and being vulnerable. If anything I've learned this last year is being vulnerable gives others permission to do that. And I see so many people struggling with this, so I want to help people with the power of breath work find their inner self. They're not broken, they're whole already. They've just had experiences that are clouding their lens of life, creating false beliefs. And I just want to help people with breath work. I love it when I do it, but that's where I'm at today. I really appreciate Josiah, Ayla, for supporting me, believing in me. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. What an inspiring story. It's been an honor to walk the journey with you, and the medicine that you've brought to my life through the way that you intuitively guide the breath. I don't know if anyone else here has been part of, I know many of you have, but I'm sure there's some of you that have not been part of one of Kevin's breathwork journeys. So if you can, tune into the one he's sharing this Saturday. In my experience, it's always like wherever you're at in the middle of the breath journey, whatever Kevin says to guide the process, it's like he's intuitively speaking to you precisely. And the way he follows that intuition is powerful. So keep it up, brother. It's a pleasure to have you here. Next up, we have Melita from New Mexico. Melita is a student at the QSE and RCP Masterclass. She's a member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. She's overcome depression and now lives beyond her comfort zone, creating opportunities for herself to expand. She feels accomplished, having achieved her goals of fitness and discovering she has power over anger and frustration. She's proud of herself for maintaining a life of sobriety and has learned to love herself and forgive those who have wronged her. Fun fact about Melita, she chooses to be a soldier of God and feels a deep mission to use her voice and share a powerful message, creating positive and meaningful impact in the world. I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, Melita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melita. I am from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're the home of the Lobos. So if you don't know what a Lobo is, it's a wolf. We're the home of the wolves. In the past, I would describe myself and identify with depression, anxiety, loneliness. I was in a very dark place, spiritually dead, as you would say, not well. And I didn't handle things with healthy coping. I used unhealthy coping mechanisms to get through life. It wasn't until I was revived and awoken on August 8th of 2021, God came to me in a very profound way. My chains were broken and I was set free. So all glory be to God. Thank you. And I would say the biggest obstacle on my journey has been once I learned that it was really me versus me, that's when the war really began. The war in my mind. And I'm still on the battlefield today. So I'm kind of waving a white flag to the Most High, surrendering to the universe and to God. This community with Ayla and Aaron has really, really helped me. I have been able to shift my angle and degree of perception to blessed. I know that some people would not use that word, but I am blessed. And I now see that life is working for me and not to me. And I have become less reactive because in the past I would react and my emotions kind of navigated me through this realm. And now I am able to take a moment, alchemize, shift it into positivity. And I am working to create in my reality. So thank you, Aaron and Ayla. I'm so thankful to be led to you guys. Have no idea. So thank you for everything. My now, currently, I would identify as righteous, holy, sanctified, perfected, justified, and saved. What am I creating and where am I going from here? Only God knows where I'll be tomorrow. I know that He has His hand on my life and I'm on the assignment from the Most High. I can feel the universe calling me. It's kind of like the movie Jumanji when they hear the drums, and the closer they get, the louder the drums get until they open the door and boom, they're in the jungle. I could feel this collective reality very deeply in a very profound way. And I mean, I'm just a pawn in this game of chess, so wherever my Father moves me is where I'll go. How can we support each other? I am very thankful to moments like this because I just want to say that there's power in prayer, man, because I really had a fear of using my voice and getting on camera, and here I am. So creating this safe space where we can express ourselves openly, even though we all come from different belief systems, backgrounds, and everything of that nature. It's just really awesome to encourage each other and have this dynamic to practice our thought and things that we're working on. And so it's really awesome. I know we all are a community of light workers. We all have a common goal, and that's to raise the vibration and to shine our light. And there is a heavy darkness amongst the collective reality. I know we're all working on individual realities. So I hope that we could come together and work to create new earth. It's coming. The kingdom of heaven is very near. It's coming, and I'm excited for us to just work together and just for this opportunity. Thank you again, Ayla and Aaron. I've really enjoyed everything through the guided meditations and the coursework. That was really helpful for me. I sort of merged it to like prayer, where I would change the wording of superconscious to Father God. And I've noticed a profound shift. Like if you knew me before or in my past to now, it's like night and day. I am a new creation, and I'm just very thankful to everybody that I'm being led to on this journey. I'm excited to get to know more of you, and it's been very inspiring to hear all of your stories and everything that everybody's gone through, some amazing journeys. So again, thank you everyone, and thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Melita. Proud of you for showing up. You should be proud of yourself and embracing the throat chakra, like you said, speaking out, sharing our visions. And I love that you mentioned Jumanji. I just watched that movie. I'd never seen it until I think about 10 months ago. And yeah, deep resonance. Somebody put in the chat, we hear the drums. So exciting here. Next up, we have Yvonne Castile from Nevada in the United States. Yvonne says she's on a mission from her home planet in the Pleiades to the Earth. She's a student of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey. She's an active member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. 2 years ago, Yvonne was struggling with diabetes, and she was able to shock her doctors when she successfully reversed it on her own in just 3 to 4 months with natural methods. She's an advocate for holistic healing, as her belief in holistic health solidified when her doctors told her to throw away her medication after her rapid transformation. And a fun fact that I did not know until last week about Yvonne is that she speaks fluent French, and English is her second language. And she's traveled much of Europe and met her soulmate when she was young. So welcome, Yvonne. Excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. So, like you said, at an early age, I spoke only French, and that was tough because I felt so different and isolated. I didn't understand anything anybody was saying. And then the teacher told my parents, why don't you speak English to her? But they didn't know English. So that was tough. And then my parents were they worked really hard, and, they were good providers and everything. But I didn't really feel like I was connected to them at all. I mean, sometimes my mom would be a little bit verbally abusive and things like that, and say, mean things. And I just became very shy and introverted, just didn't have any self esteem or anything like that. It really was a positive thing in a way, because it pushed me into being more spiritual. I kept reading tons and tons of self-help books and find out who I am and learn about myself spiritually. I knew that I was a spiritual being and that I have a body, but I'm not a body, that I'm a spiritual being. And then when I did meet my soulmate, I really learned about true unconditional love, and it was amazing. It was somebody who really understands you and really gets you, and that was really needed at the time, desperately needed, so that I could know what that was like. And then throughout my life, my whole life I worked unfulfilling jobs that I really didn't like, just to get by, and always putting my any kind of interest that I've had in the back burners. And I lived like that in survival mode for a pretty long time. And I just couldn't, I guess I didn't believe that I could survive doing what I love. I know that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. So every time I see a challenge, I know that at the end of that, I'm going to have a win. When I read this book, it's called Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. And that was, boy, that was a huge thing for me. I was like, wow, these are like my people. This is my home planet. It's like I can identify with these people. And then when I've always wanted to meet I always say Pleiadian. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but anyway, Isla and I always laugh about that. But I always wanted to meet a real one, not one in a book, you know. And then when Aaron came on, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is like a dream come true. I just wanted to be part of this. This is my family. We're like-minded." And I just was so excited. It was like a huge win. My whole life, I've never really known what my purpose is. I wrote a few little things here and there, like little, books here and there. They're never published them or anything. But I never thought of that as my purpose because I never thought that I could survive doing that, So again, I just put that on the back burners, and it just being part of this group, this is a huge win. I mean, I know what my purposes are. I have more than one. I finally know what my purpose is. This is a huge breakthrough for me because it was driving me crazy. I was like clueless as to what I'm supposed to do. I know I have a mission to do something here. What is it? Yeah, I have a little interest in this and that, but what's my real purpose? So I figured that out, and I'm very excited and passionate about it because I know from that, everything is just going to start flowing. And so my true identity is, I'm going to say I'm a writer, I'm an artist. That's what I am. I could never say that before. And it's not just being an artist of what you do. I think for me, an artist is somebody on an aesthetic wavelength. You don't have to necessarily draw or paint or do any of that or sing, or if you're on that wavelength and you're a creator, you're an artist. That's how I feel. So my progress has been amazing since I've been on the course. I have Aaron and Isla to thank for that. They've helped me so much every step of the way. I'm so grateful. I feel like a lot of the things that I learned this was a major thing that I learned. I learned a lot of things that I never thought. I mean, I thought I read it all, knew it all. I didn't know nothing. So, I mean, I'm not going to let anybody project their projections on me, like I'm not going to let somebody put their perceptions of what I should do, what I should feel, what I should be. I'm not going to accept those. In other words, I'm not going to let anybody hijack my perceptions, is what Todd says. And so that's major because I used to get influenced by what people's opinions of, me and everything. And so I'm feeling that I'm more my authentic self, more than I've ever been. I feel like my whole life has changed. Being part of a safe group where you can communicate, and be yourself, your authentic self. I mean, it's like being in a family that you've never had, where you can share things and share perspectives, and everybody accepts you for who you are and nobody judges you. I mean, that's beautiful. It really is. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yvonne. Inspiring. Keep it up. And love the passion for discovering that identity in writing and proclaiming it, really embodying it, and not being influenced by the others' perceptions and their projections.
Yeah.
Choosing for yourself who you are. Amazing to see you here. Next up, we have Harriet Brewer from Cape Town, South Africa. Harriet is a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network, a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey. He is a vibrational energy healer, a Reiki master, and founder of Healing Explored. He is the creator of digital vibrational distance healing sessions, which harness the purest forms of healing vibrational energy, including Reiki, sound, and gamma frequencies. He feels accomplished after having owned one of the top-ranked restaurants in Africa for more than 5 years, and he's proud of having survived the drama of losing that restaurant during COVID, which led him to finding his way here with energy healing. And a fun fact about Harriet is that he can bend time and shift timelines, which led him to pioneer a study of transmitting energy sessions to the past and future, which has unleashed an entirely new paradigm of energy healing work. And I myself have benefited greatly. I still remember the day, Harriet, you sent the sessions to that first group that we were working with back to the age of 13, and the shockwave that rippled through my reality, bringing back so much light from those younger years of my life that had been forgotten. So thank you, Harriet. It's an honor to have you here. Welcome. Take it away.
Well, hi, everyone. Well, thank you for having me. So my journey started, I was in the restaurant industry, and I really did not enjoy my job for years and years and years. And it was literally just being crazy busy the whole time and never having time for myself and never enjoying my job. And I've kind of believed that I couldn't do anything else. So then COVID happened, and in South Africa, they locked down restaurants for 7 months. So I was forced to spend time with myself, find myself. And then my very good sister, Karine, told me, why don't you just go and do a Reiki course? Just to keep yourself busy. And I thought, okay, I've got nothing to lose. And that's where I met Gail. And then Gail told me about this amazing sessions that she's going to afterwards. And that is where I met Lee. So I went for my first session with Lee, and I suffered from plantar fasciitis. Anybody who knows anything about that is where you're stuck and you don't do anything. That's all emotions create. Well, your body is basically the indicator of what you need to work on emotionally, mentally, and stuff like that. So I was stuck at the restaurant, and I was trying to make it work. And then I had the session with Lee, and I could feel how the energy literally came into my body, and it healed my feet. And the next day I was on a treadmill. I was running again, the first time in a year and a half. And that's when I realized how powerful energy healing is and what you can do with it. So then I started creating sessions for myself to deal with myself at that stage. I had to eventually close the restaurant, and then dealing with the loss and not knowing what to do and all the emotional turmoil after that. I actually started creating sessions for myself to deal with it, like the trauma of losing it, and self-love and anger and anxiety and all kind of sessions. And then I found myself having a few guinea people, which I tried it on, and I had success. And then I really started enjoying helping people, and I started focusing on distance healing. But I found that nothing really stuck for it. It worked for a few weeks to a few months, and then it was the self-sabotage came back into my life and into the people's lives. And that's when I discovered RCP. And the amazingness of RCP, that you don't try to kill stuff off or you hide it from yourself. You rewrite everything back into love. You change your angle of perception. And that is when I started to really live a life that I love. I started seeing the joy and starting to, because once you take out the emotions out of all the experiences, then you start seeing, okay, this is what I had to learn from it. And as soon as I started, okay, what did I have to learn from losing the restaurant and stuff like that? It was because if I didn't go through that, I would have still been on this busy, craziness and never had time to find myself and never find my way into healing. So then the funny thing was I then got another job and I had to travel a lot. I really don't like traveling. And this, I did some 13,000 kilometers in 3 months. And that's when I started to bring in joy into my heart, because to drive that far, and when I started bringing joy into my heart while doing this driving, I actually found that I can bend time, that I can, where it was supposed to take like 2 hours to get to a town, it will take me an hour to get there, just as long as I keep the joy in my heart. And that led me to discover more and more things about how powerful joy is and what you can create when you have joy in your heart. I also then discovered how to backdate sessions, forward date sessions, and that just happened by accident. I was actually, a friend phoned me and said she's got so much back pain. And I said, well, I'm driving. I can only help you to the next day. And I said, but choose a time and I will backdate it for you for today. And she said, okay, go for 2 o'clock. And we were still talking at 2 o'clock. While we were talking, she said, what the hell is happening? Because she could start feeling the energy literally running up and down her back. And a few minutes later, her back was feeling better. And then I realized that, okay, I can send sessions back as well. What I love about all the stuff that I learned from RCP and QSE is that we are all here for a purpose. And my purpose is to make healing accessible to the world, because myself and Karine discovered that we can actually energetically digitalize our sessions and create courses where we can then do it for a third of the price with the help of Lee's beautiful music, that actually embed our sessions into Lee's music, and we can reach so many more people to help them with their trauma, their anxiety, their fears, addictions, and kind of stuff like that. And yeah, so I can talk about this I love this stuff so much. And what I love the exchange about this group is like, discovered so many amazing things, like Josiah with the RCP, and then Lee, we're using her music. Karine, where myself and her create this amazing sessions together, and we each bring a different angle. And Estelle, where she do her amazing things, and now she's channeling the stuff that we're doing through the new stuff that we're doing. And it is just, the more that we all come together and share our different gifts with each other, the more we can actually build this family into an amazing, or even more amazing place to be.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Harriet. Appreciate your energy. Also excited to have your distance digital sessions included in the masterclass in the very near future. And you guys can all find some of Harriet's work in the Ateoa platform if you just look for in the menu Healing Explored. It's an honor to have you here. Your work has been instrumental in changing my life, and I'm excited to see it change so many other lives as well. And the stories we've heard is powerful. Next up, we have Karen Schumann from Port Elizabeth, South Africa. She's the co-creator of Healing Explored alongside of Harriet, also a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network. She's a vibrational energy healer. She's a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass. She's a Reiki master, and she is the co-creator of those vibrational distance energy sessions that Harriet was just speaking to. She's a qualified Quantum Shift Exploration Facilitator, a Discovery Key Experience Facilitator, a guide of the reality creation process, and she has her degree as a qualified pharmacist. She's overcame, I believe you pronounce it, eczema, and she's found that addressing emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of health, not just the physical symptoms, can resolve many health issues, creating lives that we truly love. And a fun fact about Karen is that she loves creating sculptures with clay, making art, the occasional painting, and she sees expanding awareness as the most important key to improving and enjoying a life that you love. Welcome, Karen. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's really amazing to be able to be here. Yeah, what I would like to share is I always felt, even as a child, that I wasn't really able to fit in, and I always felt that there was more. There was so much more, and I just didn't understand how and where do you get the more. And I think that, in a sense, started leading me to becoming a bit more depressed and pessimistic in my point of view in life. And every now and again, I would try and do something to try and help me to change that, to bring me back into joy, and having mixed results with it. And ended up in a place of quite a few years ago, I'd say probably about 2006, 2000 and thereabouts, where I ended up being so afraid and unable to make decisions, where I literally started shrinking my world with what I started, well, how I thought the world was working. And with this then came a medical condition that I started developing. It might sound completely silly, but I started sweating profusely just during the night, and I was tested for everything. They even did like tropical fever tests on me, and nobody knew what was going on. And they ended up saying, listen, we don't know what's wrong with you. And you kind of like give me a pat on the shoulder and say, okay, be strong. And a friend of mine said, well, he knew what I now know is a kinesiologist, that he said, why don't you go and try it out? And I'm like, okay, it's my friend, so he suggested it. And I went for the session. And after thinking that this is so weird, I don't know what actually happened here, because it doesn't make any sense what happened. It doesn't look like anything happened. The next day I woke up and realized the sweating that had me drenched every single night was completely gone. It completely cured it. And that then led me to realize that there is so much more in this life than we thought was available. And that started my whole journey, which was so much joy and excitement of what could happen. And I found that doing regular sessions of whatever I was busy with at the time, it could have been Reiki, Kinesiology, or I did quite a few different things. If I did a regular session, it tends to keep me in the place, the frequency where I believe I'm supposed to be, which is truly me, which is actually a happy person. And yeah, and it stopped me from being on medication for depression. So that's something I believe in. If you look after yourself emotionally, it does tend to have a direct effect on yourself physically. Yeah. And yeah, that's my story of how I got here in that sense. Some of my biggest obstacles before doing QSE and RSP was not understanding why things happened. I can honestly say that I could easily go into the victim mode, understanding why this. Because yes, just to give you an idea, I studied pharmacy after like really going through the motions, trying to find out what it is that I would be passionate to do so that I can be happy for the rest of my life. And I ended up doing the pharmacy, and I found that I didn't have the passion. And I think that was also something that before had me really depressed. But with QSE, I started finding out why things happen, and then realizing that nothing is against you. It's literally when something happens, you go, and with QSE, you can find out why it happened. And if you know why it happened, it makes such a big difference for you to realize that it is actually helping you. All the big things that happened in my life, I now know why it's happened, and realize that I was being guided to get to where I am today. And yes, makes a huge difference. And with regards to the RCP, when I found out about it, Lee told me about it very excitedly, as being able to change in the long term, not just short term, where you're trying to basically cut off part of you that, or release a part of you that you don't want anymore. And then your body and your being then not wanting you to kill a part of you off and then bringing it back, and it feels like self-sabotage, and then you're regressing, and then you're feeling depressed about the fact that it didn't work even though you put in such a big effort. So that was a big thing for me before RCP as well, feeling like you're stuck. You know you want more, you see you can get more, but feeling stuck. And then how I would have described myself before doing it, I would say a lot less direction, because I was stuck. Well, I felt like I was being stuck in pharmacy, didn't know what to do with myself. And then I went for a session and came out that that was something I needed to do myself. And I absolutely, the world that it's made me aware of, world or universe that it brought into my being after doing that, just gave me so much more direction and teaching me so much more and opening up my whole perspective about everything. And with RCP is just making me aware of what I'm actually thinking and what I'm actually manifesting subconsciously, where now I'm aware of what I'm thinking, and that helps me to start consciously manifesting and not just being a pawn in somebody else or just in the game of life, basically. Okay, so and my progress, I think I've already covered it with regards to knowing why things happen, then not seeing myself as a victim anymore, and being able to appreciate things. And even with events still happening, I would say, okay, so why has this happened? What was the reason for this? What can I learn from it? How can it be positive for me? I think that is a big thing that's changed for me, is perceiving it in a possible way. And we're also learning that if you see something in a possible way, then it is going to happen in a possible way. Yeah, so that's, and then also integrating the parts of me that helped me stuck before or I felt needed healing. So that's now being integrated. Yes, and still staying inside of me and changing everything into like realizing the wholeness of us, and not that there's anything wrong with us, just remembering and realizing we're whole. And then just, yeah, that's that love that can actually come from that. And how I would describe myself at the moment, I would like to say I'm more aware. I'm trying to be more aware, but I realize that I'm probably going to laugh at myself in a few years' time, or even in a few months' time, of thinking, yeah, you thought you knew some stuff now, but now look at where you are now and what you thought you knew. So just realizing that we're growing all the time and how amazing it is, and consciously creating a love that I love and adore. So, and getting better and better at it. My vision is, and what we're doing at the moment, like Gerrit said, we are creating and constantly improving our vibrational digital energy healing sessions, which is really exciting because we keep on layering it and layering it, making it more incredible. And then just balancing it out. What difference is that going to make to this world? It's going to be amazing. So yes, I see it going everywhere. And for the exchange and support, I think everybody has something to teach to everybody, because sometimes you just need to hear somebody say something in a different way, even though you've heard it 1,000 times before. It's just to get that connection, to find what it is that you hear the person that actually you can actually hear properly. And it could be just talking, it could be like in a session, or it could be just a different point of view. And yes, and then how we can learn and grow. And if we find our tribe, that's when we really start shining and our vibration lifts. And I think it just is good for absolutely everybody. That's me.
Thank you so much, Corinne. And I love what you said about balancing out those sessions. I remember some of those sessions being very much acutely overpowering, and it's exciting to see, the progress of how potent the work that you guys are creating is, and then how we can spread that out and just create such an impact in people's lives. So keep it up. It's an honor to have you here. Next up, we have Melissa Starkey from Ohio in the United States. Melissa is a student at the QSC and RCP Masterclass. She's an active member of the Superconscious Creators Circle. She's accomplished one of the most important steps of her self-expansion by embodying and choosing the firm decision to choose herself in every way, walking away from her entire life previously and committing to her spiritual journey and embracing the unknown. Melissa is proud of herself for overcoming addiction and embracing a new lifestyle around the discovery and expression of her most authentic self, becoming who she really is and who she truly desires to be. And a fun fact about Melissa is that she knows American Sign Language, so she can talk without talking. Welcome, Melissa. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Aaron. The journey with me started very young. My mom and my dad ended up getting a divorce. He left her when I was 3 months old, and after that, I ended up being admitted into the hospital with failure to thrive. That was kind of a shock to hear. I didn't know that until I was a little bit older, but from very young, I was the peacemaker is what I was called in my family. I was the peacemaker, and I can see it now as people pleasing. I never wanted there to be any arguing. I would always be there for my brothers and sisters to make sure that they never got in trouble, but I would cover for them and make sure that everybody was just peace around. My mom got remarried when I was about 4 or 5 years old to my stepdad, the only dad I ever knew, and still to this day, I consider him my father, even though he's passed. In my family, it's hard to explain, I guess. It was riddled with molestation, and not just with me, but within, my siblings, my cousins, from uncles, cousins, and even my father. And even being the peacemaker, I didn't stand for injustice, and so speaking up about that, I was very, very vocal about that. However, that was never heard. Nothing was ever taken seriously. Me on the other hand, I was the one that was, sent away to mental health institutions to work through my problems. Nothing was ever addressed at home. So every time I spoke up about something, it was never validated. It was never addressed. It was never resolved. And so that caused a lot of problems I can see now. As a child, I just kind of went through, well, I guess this is just something that I have to deal with. And you know what I mean? I guess, this is how it's supposed to be. However, I didn't agree with it. My soul didn't agree with it. And that caused problems where I started running away. I was running away from the dysfunction. I could see it as dysfunction. I could see the emotional abuse, the emotional neglect, all of it. And I didn't want any part of it. And I was the black sheep. I was the one that actually, I always, even though I was the peacemaker and I could be there to help keep everything calm, I was also the one that spoke up of the injustice. And when my voice wasn't heard, I ran. And at that point, I turned to drugs. From age 13 to a 30-year cycle. Just a year ago, it was a never-ending cycle of going through addiction after addiction. It went from pills to meth to heroin, and no matter how hard I tried, it was so frustrating because I could see myself going through these cycles and understanding why I was going through these cycles and not understanding. I keep trying to do what I can to fix this, and I'm not able to fix it. What is wrong with me? You know what I mean? And not understanding all of the depths and the trauma and everything involved in it, and just kind of getting lost and just spinning out of control, going through getting clean and then trying to dig myself out of that hole and going back in. I ended up getting about 10 felonies, a handful of misdemeanors, going through AP&P, all of it, and still ending up going back to heroin. I was tired of it. I was tired of all of it. I had gotten married. I had a son and then ended up getting married. And we had some great times, but looking back now, I can see how most of it was just a struggle of trying to fight off the addiction and not being able to enjoy one another, not being able to have that connection, not being able to communicate with one another, and trying to fight to get out of all of that. And I had finally decided I'm done. You know what I mean? I'm done with this lifestyle. I'm done going to jail. I'm 40 years old and I'm going to jail. And I was fed up, but I was living in a lifestyle where everyone around me there was drug abuse in my home, in my wife's home, you know, like just everywhere, all the way around me. And I everywhere I turned, I couldn't get rid of it. And so finally I had made the decision. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, and I asked her, I said, are you done with all of this? Are you sure you want to move forward and build ourselves, you know, build our life up out of this hole that we've dug ourselves? At that point, I was working, I was doing it. I was doing everything that I wanted to do to be able to get out of that hole, going to classes, successfully completing probation. And then out of left field, I found out that she was cheating on me with my son's best friend. And that just hit me like that just hit me like a brick wall. Like I had out of left field, I didn't know where to go or what to do. I was telling Aaron when I first spoke with him that at that point I had told her, like, even just looking at myself from a, you know, like the higher perspective, and hearing the words come out of my mouth, tell her that I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm not doing this. I want you to get out. I never thought in my whole life that I would ever, you know, say that to her, but it did. And at that point I just kind of you know, broke down and went into myself, wondering why I'm here, what am I doing here? I'm tired of all of it. And I just kind of lit a match and threw it, you know, didn't look behind me, threw my whole life away, and moved into trying to find myself, because I had gone so far off my path that I was just lost. Going through an awakening that I had no idea, you know, hoping that somebody could tell me anything, anywhere, knowing that I had a connection somewhere else and a deeper calling, but what was I meant for in this life? And that's when I ended up finding Aaron on TikTok. He, you know, I went through a 7-week course, and I didn't complete it, but he came back up, and I just felt a deep connection to connect with him and help me with understanding my life and going through this journey and the awakening journey, and wondering if I'm going crazy. The obstacles, a victim mindset, a codependency, addiction, all of it. It was like a black fog in my mind, and I couldn't get out of any of it. So I had to toss a match behind me and walk away from everything that I ever had, and understand the victim mindset and all of it. And that's what this course has brought me, is enlightenment, bringing me a safe space to come home to myself, to choose me, and above all else, and know that I can't give to everybody unless I give to myself first. And any obstacle that I've come to learn that it's not an obstacle, it's just another opportunity to learn from it, grow from it, learn more about myself. And through all of it, all of the experience with the drug addiction, all of the experience with the sexual abuse, all the experience with counseling, I've decided that I want to move forward with providing a safe space for, you know, people that do have addictions can come. I'm going to school for counseling, and I'm getting my master's in Reiki. So I want to integrate those two together to be able to help anybody with addiction, but also anybody who's going through an awakening, be able to help guide them through the work, energy work, and all of that. I really think that with my experience and my thirst for knowledge, to know and understand myself, I can inspire others to do the same, especially going through an awakening. I want to give back from my experiences and be able to help people through this process, so they don't feel they're crazy, so they know that they have other people out there that have gone through the same thing, and that they're not alone. And so yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you so much, Melissa. What an inspiring story. And I love what you said, that thirst for knowledge. It is core, knowing yourself. So thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here. We've got a couple people left on the agenda today, so stick around. We're nearing the ending point, but there's a few more great and amazing people that you'll hear from. Next up is Jakes from Nelspruit, South Africa. And Jakes, before you dive in and share your 7 keys, I want to share the story of how we met, because it's absolutely profound, and it's a testament to how when the universe wants to bring people together and connect them, it will. So I was in the United States and spontaneously discovered that the universe wanted me to take a trip to South Africa with less than 14 days notice. My passport had been stolen, so I didn't have a passport. Everything lined up for me to get that expedited. And we're looking for where we're going to book our accommodations when I get to South Africa. And we wanted to go to the stone circles there, the ancient stone circles, which is right near where Jakes lives in Nelspruit. So we're searching for a place, and we find this farmhouse that the name on it is Gaia's Grace. And that just resonated with us. We're like, oh, this sounds vibey. And we get there, and there's crystals and there's symbols and all of these wonderful things. And then we meet our Airbnb hosts, and they're very much on this wavelength. Come to find out later, they're also Pleiadians. Her parents used to run a lodge out in the South African bush called the Pleiadian Lodge, but in the local language. And they said, hey, while you're here, because we were going to be there for like 2 months, they said, while you're here, can we host a meditation circle? Because we gotten to know them pretty well. So they said, we're going to invite a bunch of people. We got a whole community here in the area. We'll invite everyone over to the house, and we'll have this big meditation circle and visit and connect. We said, yeah, awesome. Let's do it. So the Airbnb host, she invites everyone over, and Jake's sister comes and shows up there. And then after the meditation, Isla and I are talking with her, and she says, we've got to connect up. We're free on Sunday. You've got to meet my brother. You've got to meet his wife, and we've all got to get together. And are you guys open to it? We're like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So we get together, visit, and let's just put it this way: we've been absolutely friends ever since. We spent many, many afternoons going out to the stone circles or some other sacred places in the region, and it's been an honor to have you on this journey, brother. I appreciate the spirit that you walk in. A little bit about Jakes. He's a light code channeler. He's a Reiki master. He's a graduate of the QSE and RCB Masterclass journey. He's an active member of the community here. He's proud of having developed the ability to differentiate between his own channel and his own mind, so that he's able to, kind of embody his gift as a channeler with focus, while also learning to overcome the pitfalls in his life of rushing into ideas that don't pan out, and instead being able to follow through, focusing on well-planned projects. He supports people in making a shift into alignment, creating the lives that they love by channeling light codes, creating full chakra activations, consciousness reprogramming, trauma and soul blueprint integration during meditation. And a fun fact about Jake is that he's always been great at writing poetry. It's an honor to have you here, brother. Take it away. I'm excited to hear the 7 key connectors you're here to share with us today.
Thank you, Josiah. So my journey, I grew up on a farm, not having much, and needed to share everything with 3 other siblings. Being brought up in a Christian home, I was taught with all the strange things that happened on the farm, not knowing or understanding what we saw and went through. My mother had severe DID, which made her a very weird person to be around, and me and my elder sister became her support from a very young age till this day on. My dad was always helping the beggar on the street by bringing them into our home. That led to many strange things that we had to see as children. Eventually, I was introduced to magic mushrooms, and I did a heroic journey that capsized my reality and led me to my dark night of the soul that lasted for a crazy 3 years. This caused me to lose my job and almost completely ruin my relationship with my partner, and I thought I was going insane. My challenges, I couldn't find a way to step into my true power or what that even looked like. So I was jumping from one practice to the next one, thinking every time that this one is the one, just to get bored by it. My health was at an all-time low where I couldn't exercise without getting ill all the time, and I was worried if I would live to see 35. I was 33 at the time, and generally I am a super active person. I also had destructive patterns where I couldn't keep a steady work nor any healthy relationships. I made loads of bad financial choices, ending in losing everything and having to start over and over again. I was angry all the time without knowing why, and I had a deep desire to find healing for myself and everyone else, but just couldn't find a path that truly brought any success. My identity, I became a lost drug addict who thought he was a great healer working with various medicines, trying to fix myself and the people around me. I was the worst version of myself, stuck in a loop and shattered across space and time. Even though some of the work that I've done was super successful, I wasn't able to bring myself back into wholeness regardless of how much medicine I used, causing me to unravel even more to the point where I just wanted to party and get high all the time. I also became a grumpy old man stuck in a 33-year-old's body, complaining constantly and mostly seeing the negative of things. I believed that the only way I could ever find my way back was through the medicine. I was so focused on the single thing that I almost lost everything in the process. My progress. At first, I didn't believe Josiah when he said the RCP would radically change my life. I've tried it all, how could this have been any different? But I very quickly started to see just how wrong I was. With every meditation and integration, the parts of me that were dispersed through time and space started to come back one by one. For the first time in my life, I began to feel how I'm being remembered, each piece coming back to myself. My entire reality began to shift so drastically that I struggled to keep up with what memories and events happened in what timeline. I had to constantly check in with my partner to see if what I remember is correct or make sure I don't miss something that has changed. I could also, for the first time, begin my journey to stop using medicine all the time for everything in order to regain my health. It was a wild roller coaster, but what a ride. My alignment. Now I am a free-spirited, nature-loving hippie who spends a lot of time listening to nature, listening to my body, my guides, and everything around me to understand how to best navigate this life. I am an open channel that guides many people around me, a life coach, a light in the dark, and also the darkness in the light, to be in perfect balance. I'm an understanding and supportive partner. I am that guy that walks around with tarot cards, crystals, Palo Santo, talk to dragons, trees, extraterrestrial beings, and the elements. Life is a game, and I know now how to play it. And most of all, I am just another you, and you are just another me, and I am an expression of consciousness that loves this life to bits. My vision at the moment, I'm working on my packages where I do chakra alignment and blueprint integration, either through in-person cacao ceremonies or online sessions. I dive deep into working with those systems that is resistance towards a life that you love and your soul blueprint, helping to release stuck energy, traumas, and even memories. Also working with tattoos, activating it to become a powerful tool for you and release any energy or memories that is held by those tattoos. During these sessions, I use channeling, tarot cards, Reiki, crystals, and drumming with my djembe. My heart is to reach a place where I can see about 3 clients a day with my online sessions, or at least one-on-one person, and also to host more events working on the ley lines and in sacred sites. And have a self-sustained farm and a healing center. So my exchange, as the person who I am at the moment, I'm able to give through channeling in the form of life codes, or bringing through wisdom and knowledge from the Akashic records. I have a very deep understanding and connection to the healing of all medicines and the heart of the medicine, how to use them, how not to use them, and the risks, traumas, and after effects that comes along with it. Being able to support those in need and give accurate advice and guidance. And what I'm looking for is exposure and connection to share my magic to the world, to build myself up and really get noticed. I also have a very unique perspective on how this reality works and how everything fits into each other, being able to see what you need and how to get there. I'm also moving to the UK soon, so it would be amazing to start to build up contacts there and a new community. That is me. Thank you, everybody.
Amazing, Jay. Congrats on the upcoming move to the UK. I'll need to catch up with you and see what's transpired. But proud of your journey, brother. And it's an honor to have you here. Thank you for sharing kind of the words of wisdom from that integration space that you've been through and what you're able to create going forward from it. Next up, we have Mariah Davies, all the way from Auckland, New Zealand. Mariah is a founding member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network. She was a graduate of the QSC and RCP Masterclass journey, as well as a co-creator in that journey. Many of the choices you guys have seen throughout that process were crafted or refined through some of Mariah's linguistic genius. Mariah is the creator of something called the DNA, a divination method based on quantum shift exploration and the reality creation process. Her work allows her to open portals of insight, exploring the blind spots of her client's energy field to see what's being missed. She feels accomplished having learned to lean into her neurodivergent superpowers and to create and enjoy a thriving career in media production with live TV and radio broadcasting. She's faced and overcome significant challenges such as transcending BPD, reducing self-sabotage, and cultivating a life defined by self-worth. Some fun facts about Mariah is she's received multiple radio broadcasting awards. She's composed and produced multiple award-winning songs. She loves Minecraft, divination, and enjoys riding her longboard. Welcome, Mariah. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much, Josiah. Thank you, Aaron. And I'd just like to acknowledge you and Lee, all the speakers here. The amount of courage in the room is incredibly inspiring. And I'd also like to acknowledge those of us that are watching and participating that way. So I'm just going to go straight into this. My journey, what are the core identities or key markers of my story that defined me in the past? The first 50 years of my life was marked by conflict and chaos and a struggle with unresolved trauma as a result of the abuses experienced in childhood, which for me expressed itself as self-directed rage. And partly owing to this, my home life was tumultuous for much of the time. My home life as a child and as an adult. I was deeply insecure. I had a very poor self-image. And my existence in my eyes, and perhaps those of my family, was marked by emotional instability and chaotic relationships. My work, though, as you may have heard, was a refuge where I created a professional identity in order to feel worthy. But while I did remarkably well when it came to making things, producing, creating, all working under the esteem of others, I sabotaged greater success under my own esteem by my fear of being seen. And for me, I would say self-doubt and low self-esteem defined me for years. My challenges, so what were my biggest obstacles before starting QSC and RCP? I didn't trust anyone, especially anyone in authority. And so therapy or outside help for me was a no-go. My relationships were volatile and I would say competitive. I was terrified of being seen, and so I also hit a wall with my work. I often found myself in a cycle of self-pity and rage, which, while self-directed for the most part, was still incredibly shameful to me. I was full of self-hate, and I was terrified that I was actually broken and unfixable, and I had no idea how to transcend any of this. In terms of my identity, who would I have described myself as being before starting this process with QSC and RCP? Before I started the process with RCP and QSC, I would have described myself as deeply insecure and lacking in personal power, no boundaries, subject to the opinions of others. My identity was wrapped around the experience that I was worthless and unlovable, and wrapped around the opinions of others as well. While I was successful professionally, my personal life was chaotic, and I was hiding behind a facade, deeply afraid to confront the truth of my struggles. And my family likely saw me as multi-talented, but prone, and likely saw me as successful as well, but prone to flying off the handle. And it was like a dual existence for me, where I was able to help others, but I wasn't able to help myself. In terms of my progress, how has this community or the QSC and RCP methods supported me in shifting these obstacles? The RCP and QSC methods have been life-changing for me. In fact, I've done the course about 4 times now. In 2022, I started the 13-week masterclass, and that was the breakthrough that allowed me to start the process of really deep transformation. RCP gave me the tools to effectively navigate introspection and shadow work, and to see what was blocking my full self-expression and the ability for me to enjoy amazing relationships and success and harmony. And thus began my shift from a life defined by shame and self-destruction to one where I am kind to myself. Through RCP and developing a new relationship with myself, a pathway into understanding the psychological aspects of the human condition began to open up to me. An area of self-knowing that I was previously terrified to look at because of the stigma around mental health and the fact that I'd watched bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, etc., take out members of my family, started to become visible to me. And at this point, I started to discover the state of being I had experienced for almost 50 years, and that I was deeply ashamed of, had scientific names like borderline personality disorder, histrionic disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, chronic post-traumatic stress disorder or syndrome, disassociation, ADHD, and the list goes on and on. And while the study of the pathology of so-called mental disorders is not a part of the reality creation process, when you make a choice to live a life you love and to be fully self-expressed, you provide yourself with a path forward that is aligned with your soul's true nature and purpose. And for me, that has become about closely looking at self-sabotage patterns, how these are created, and methods that are effective for dealing with them at a level that I needed to deal with them. And I'm on a path now to prove that you can be 50 and over and discover and transcend these decade-long embedded patterns. I'm developing exercises to fast-track this process. In terms of what I've learned to say no, to embrace conflict when necessary, and to be kinder to myself. And the shame that I used to feel each time I split with explosive bouts of self-directed rage, this no longer has a hold on me, and I'm steadily creating a new pattern of being based on the choice to love myself and to choose myself. And the progress I've made is unrecognizable compared to who I was 2 years ago. So my alignment, who I would describe myself as at this point in my journey, I would now describe myself as someone who is deeply committed to self-mastery, discovering what it is to live a life I love in a way that is fully self-expressed and aligned with my soul's true nature and purpose. And the work in self-discovery is ongoing, but I'm no longer defined by the syndromes, or the symptoms rather, or the features of the likes of borderline personality disorder and most or many other disorders to some degree. Instead, I'm now focused on creating a blueprint for self-mastery that can support others who have experienced similar struggles. My vision, what I'm creating now, and where I'm going to from here, I'm fully realizing the life I love through continuous self-mastery and exploration of my own human condition. I'm dedicated to transcending the limiting beliefs and patterns that once held me back, and I'm actively developing and expanding in my full self-expression. I'm creating a blueprint and resources that support others in doing the same. And that blueprint will eventually be delivered in a number of ways, on stage, in print, and via video. And as an example of resources, I'm about to launch a tarot deck, Life is a Game. So thanks to those that have already mentioned Life is a Game, I thought that was a nice introduction for me in terms of talking about something that is very important to me, and that is a mindset that life is a game. We come here to learn and evolve, and we choose our experiences and our character much like a game. Gaming our life can help us face what we might see as tough bosses. And by the way, I do love reading tarot, and if you do RCP, I'll be here to assist you with your coaching using that deck and others. How can I support others in this group, and how can others support me? So I can support others in this group by sharing my journey and the blueprint that I'm developing, which aims to transcend limiting beliefs and patterns associated with the conditions characterized in some of the things that I've talked about. I'm here to offer insight and encouragement to anyone struggling with these challenges. And in return, I'd love to receive support from the others and shared in terms or in the form of shared experiences and ongoing encouragement as I continue this transformative journey. Of course, I'd love it if others support my journey with Tarot Deck, Life is a Game, which will hopefully be on Kickstarter within the next week. And also come and do RCP. I would love to meet you. And yeah, that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mariah. It's been an honor to walk this journey with you. I remember years ago when we first connected in a side Zoom room of a collaborative project that never even got off the ground, that wasn't even our own. There was a deep connection in the resonance of, kind of how we were both approaching the potentials of what consciousness could do. And, one of the intentions that I don't think you were here right at the beginning, but Isla shared this, that in her first message with you, you guys had a conversation about how our conversations help us remember. That was one of the first messages she sent you on TikTok, was like the readings that you were posting. Really, it feels like we're all walking each other home into this place. And the conversations that you and I have had over the years have been a defining marker in my capacity to keep showing up to this work when I didn't want to anymore. And here we all are today, sharing these beautiful stories and helping each other remember the journey back to ourselves. So it's an honor to have you here. Next up, we have Alicia Thompson from Nebraska in the United States. Alicia is a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey and an active member of the Superconscious Creator Circle. Alicia chooses to embody the divine feminine frequency as an occult practitioner, shadow guide, and a human design experimenter. She's a time traveler and a full experiencer of the complete spectrum of life, walking the paths through the backside of the shadows, guiding souls through the darkness and into the truth of their own light. She's increasing her psychic abilities with a gnosis of the mechanics of her inner reality creation process. With her cosmic origin in the void and her future origin in the Pleiades, Alicia embraces cycles of life, death, and rebirth fully. Welcome, Alicia. It's an honor to have you here.
So I want to say thank you again to Aaron, Ayla, Kevin, especially for your life-changing breath work, man. And that stuff was instrumental in beginning this process for me. And thank you for everybody who showed up and shared. This is a challenging thing to do. And thank you for everybody who's here witnessing. So thank you for your service. As a young child, I experienced extreme forms of trauma, including generational satanic ritual abuse, abduction, torture, and child trafficking, which my family concealed from me and then punished me for exhibiting behavioral issues due to that, and then further abusing me throughout the years, up until even recently. I was very clairvoyant and creative and artistic. I saw ghosts, shadow people, and I spoke to animals, angels, and other beings. And I incessantly drew these little fashion models that looked like reptilian clones. And all of this really freaked my family out and resulted in my being expelled from elementary school. And the discouragement of my creativity in any form that included anything otherworldly. For that, the church and MK Ultra had considerable and fairly effective influence in teaching me that I was bad and should be afraid of these abilities. Up until very recently, I used substances, abusive relationships, and work-induced validation and exhaustion cycles to suppress my abilities until a near-death experience in 2013 showed me that I did not have to buy into the fear or control programming anymore. And I began intuitively practicing magic and communicating with beings in other realms again, leading to self-initiation into occult practices, divine feminine mystery schools, and connection with my guides. One of which was my future Pleiadian self that came to me in my bedroom one night and told me to go find Aaron and participate in RCP. So here we are. Prior to my involvement with QSE and RCP, I experienced disabling chronic back pain due to the suppressed trauma in my body, depression, severe anxiety when around people, as I'm very sensitive to the suppressed energies in others, self-harm as a means to control the intensity of the emotions I often experienced, especially despair and bouts of violent rage, self-delete programming, and substance abuse due to the old trauma patterns, both from this incarnation and others, that I was unconsciously recreating in an effort to reconcile. Though I knew that I was here for some reason and felt called to help others, and I participated in many ways in an attempt to be of service, including becoming a certified equine assisted learning facilitator, a dialectical behavioral therapy facilitator, and volunteering with teens at risk for suicide, homeless folks, and programs for veterans returning from combat. Now, I always felt that the tools and modalities available were inadequate to the task at hand, and so I continued to search and learn and grow. Also experienced a lot of confusion and fear after my initiation and awakening experience in 2022 that included an MK Ultra component that utilized self-delete programming, a very invasive and traumatic method, which took well over a year to recover from. In the 20 years leading up to that experience, aspects of my journey included struggling with violence as an outlet for my suppressed emotions, stifled creativity, and long bouts of depression and self-delete attempts that should have by all rights been successful, as I felt lost, alone, and separated from a world that I did not fit into. Prior to aligning with the Tewa and participating in RCP and QSE, I was pretty much a slave and very nearly a casualty of the fear-based programming that I had received. When I tried to save everyone and do everything, and I played the good girl role of self-sacrifice, I was rewarded enough to be included and barely get by, until I would collapse into the extraction from an exhaustion of my system as an energetic resource in service to the building of others' empires. When I rebelled against that role in programming, I dove deep into darkness, willingly and gladly participating in high levels of organized crime, syndicate, and the motorcycle subculture in Las Vegas, Nevada for many years, frequently in violent and intentionally harmful ways, and on the receiving end of continued physical, mental, and emotional abuse. I courted death like a lover, and in 2017, I had a near-death experience in a motorcycle crash that I pretty much just went into the void and switched timelines and then walked away from with nothing but a few stitches and some road rash. That should have been the end of my incarnation. I almost went to prison in 2019 for what would have been my third domestic violence felony, all of which occurred in self-defense, but because I wasn't the one that called the police, I was considered the perpetrator instead of the victim of abuse. So despite the physical evidence to the contrary, I felt further invalidated and traumatized by the justice system, where they treated me like I was the abuser and I was just trying to stay alive. I had little love or compassion anymore for humanity in general and regarded our species as cancer on the face of the planet. Since being visited by my Pleiadian future self, and showed a fast forward version of my RCP experience, then finding Aaron on Instagram and aligning with the Tewa. I've let go of the need to conform or rebel, perform or self-abandon, or try to save or punish others. I found a way to connect with my soul fractal, my higher future divine blueprint self, heal my body and energetic system with breath. Thank you, Kevin, for your life-changing facilitation again. And super conscious self-programming. I have found a community that supports and welcomes the full spectrum of my abilities, shadows, and light, and who love me even when I'm falling on my own face in similar piles of shit that I still create as I learn and grow. I have seen and experienced many of my choices that I've made in my super conscious work come to pass in my reality experience, and how to refine them for the next iteration. In this community, I'm seen, recognized, invited, and welcome to share what I have learned as I go, and honored in the hard places where the going gets a little rocky, since I have a bulldog system, and changing such deep-seated programming is something that kindles great resistance in me at times. I have even learned to welcome this resistance and watch it transform as the reality inside and around me transforms. Currently in my journey, I would describe myself as a divine feminine frequency holder, occult practitioner, shadow guide, initiator, and lover of all that is. I incarnated here and now to walk the hard paths and kind of enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit fun to be a little extreme on plenty of occasions, and I wouldn't take any of it back. I have no regrets. I am the convergence of the points of my future and original cosmic self in this space and time. I'm creating a multifaceted and multidimensional QSE, RCP, human design, and astrology-based quantum modality to facilitate the initiation and awakening of others who have deep trauma and shadow patterns, and who are incarnated during this time of Earth and humanity's evolution. It's getting hard now. To break age-old cycles and transmute the darkest aspects of human experience, which many souls are not called to facilitate. I desire to facilitate access to spiritual tools and modalities like human design, RCP, and QSC for people in the beginning stages of awakening in the private sector, and also those in the process of recovery, incarceration, juvenile detention, and the foster system, especially those who've experienced child trafficking and domestic violence, and to create integrative, sustainable communities for those on the path of alchemy expansion coming out of those places. I can support this community by holding space for the authenticity and expansion of those with very deep trauma, addiction, and shadow patterns, and sharing a variety of tools for transmutation and integration of the full spectrum of source energies in this realm. I'm currently experiencing increasing psychic abilities and in need of fun tips and techniques to transcend the program fear and resistance thresholds in order to develop them in a consistent way, and also with tech support to create a database for human design, astrology, magic, and alchemy-based coaching type platform, and networking with those who can facilitate the unfolding of this vision.
Alicia, thank you so much. What an inspiration. Walking with you on this journey has been incredible. Keep it up, keep going forward. I love the power that you embody. Your comfortability with the dark and your embodiment of the light shines brilliantly and makes waves. You've seen it in your own reality, and I know others here feel it as well and are inspired by it. Keep it up. Next up, we have Patty from Missouri in the United States. She's from my home state. Patty is a student of the QSE and RCP Masterclass, an active member of the Superconscious Creators Circle. One of the things that she feels accomplished about is having established a private practice as a nurse practitioner in Missouri, where it was not possible to do so without an overseeing physician. Patty overcame many hurdles, raising her 4 beautiful children as a single mother and learning to balance her life while continuing to pursue her dream of helping people overcome their physical, mental, and emotional challenges at the same time. Fun fact about Patty is she has served on 2 state board of directors, testifying before congressional committees to help educate lawmakers and draft legislation on workers' compensation. Welcome, Patty. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having this platform too. This is awesome. All of the things people said and the stories that they had were just amazing, and to hear that they overcame it's just awe-inspiring. My journey it started very early in childhood. I had very loving, supporting parents, grew up in a family of 5 kids. Grandmother lived with us as well. Just a lot of love and support there. My mother, when I was 5 years old, I came home from kindergarten and I brought my package of school pictures. My mother pulled out the picture and she said to me, "Look at this beautiful child," she said. "You know you are special, right? You know you are unique and you are special. And you have unique gifts." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Every human is special. And every human has unique gifts given to them by the Creator, by God. And you are to use those gifts to make a difference in the world and make it a better place." And I remember that like it was yesterday. So that was the very beginning of my journey. From a very young age, was a peacemaker, shared my love with everybody. My dad was not very demonstrative in his love. And I decided I was going to help him overcome that. So I would hug and kiss all over him. And he came around, and not just with me, but with all 5 of the kids. I also, is part of my basis, I think, of where I am today was also attributed to a school I attended. It was a Catholic school. It was a private school. My parents didn't have a lot of money, but we would often go and visit a nun there who taught my mother. Well, at age 9, we made a visit and she decided that I should go there. And it was a school that she found a sponsor, and they gave me 4 years there. So it was from about 9 or 10 until I was about 14. And the school was known for its education, academics mainly, but they taught you how to live a life of personal responsibility, compassion for others, and going after what you want in life. And that is what I did. I married at the, fast forwarding here, I married at the age of 19, had 4 children, first of which was at 25 years old and the last at 32. I divorced at age 32 and began a career in insurance in the corporate world. That was about all that was available there at the time. That lasted about 30 years. When I was in my 40s, I decided that I was not following my passion of caring for others, and I was not making a difference in the world. I think a lot of people have that happen in their 40s. I felt I was to do something important for humanity, for the world. So I followed my passion, went to nursing school, starting at age 48. I had a degree in psychology and a minor in law at the time that I started. And then after getting my bachelor's of science in nursing, I decided that, I don't know, I was too much of a free spirit to be in the confines of a hospital taking orders from doctors. I'm a little stubborn too. Anyway, so I went back, got my nurse practitioner degree and certification, and I started that career at 52. When I was 66, I received very many inner messages telling me, it's time, it's time, it's time. Well, I didn't know where that was coming from or why it was coming, but it was also during COVID. I knew I was going to be forced to take the vaccine and recommend it to my patients. So I listened to the inner voice and I retired. Best decision I ever made. Within 6 months of retiring, I heard about Ascension from Archangel Michael in a channeled message. I researched and discovered about the plan of ascension of our planet and humanity. I began this journey, which has been a wild ride. I think I've taken just about every ascension course, read every book, and it was very confusing until I started with you in the 13-week course. My challenges. Prior to RCP and QSE, I was not sure of my true nature or purpose. I knew I was supposed to have it, but I didn't know what it was. I lacked confidence in myself. I looked more to the outside for answers than internally. And once I got better at meditation and I looked internally and I started getting messages and answers to what I was looking for, I had a problem trusting it and, thought that must be my imagination. They can't be telling me these things. Many of them were very loving, and I don't know, it just didn't sound right to me. The RCP process helped me to feel more empowered to do anything I desire to better my life and the world. And it gave me the tools to the processes to do it as well. Other things that I had read, seminars I had been, spiritual journey up Mount Shasta, etc. None of them gave me those tools. And those were very important and life-changing. QSE gave me confirmation of what I believed my soul's purpose was and expanded on my soul's true nature from what I had previously thought. So it gave me clarity there. My identity, I was not always revealing my authentic self in the past. To exist in this matrix, you have to sell yourself. You have to, if you go for a job interview, you have to be able to sell yourself. And so I don't know that I really I know I didn't put my authentic self out there. It has been a process, but I am much more comfortable today than I was before starting this program. And it feels awesome being who I truly am and not really caring what others think. My family might not agree with me. My granddaughter told me I was mean to her because I told her no. So my authentic self, I'm not sure she's impressed with it. My progress, inspiring each other with our progress. How has this community or QSE RCP methods supported me in shifting these obstacles? And this is where I just had to say, this community is so welcoming, so kind and supportive and reassuring with even our most private issues. We feel completely free to share whatever is bothering us or getting in our way, and we receive such love and support from each other. Isla and Aaron and their team have real answers to real questions, concerns, and problems that come up, as well as strategies to address these issues. This whole community benefits from the discussions we have. Makes me a little emotional. My alignment. I'm a more confident being, believing that I know who I truly am, and I love who I am. I feel deeper connection to Source, my higher self, and my soul. I know my purposes, more than one, and I actively taking steps to create and achieve those as well. My vision, I am building a life I love in the 5D earth. And I get visions of it in meditation, and it is just peaceful, loving. There's unity and harmony in all of creation. There's service to others in joy. The communities solve problems together because a problem for one is a problem for all. So I am currently working on creating my online support for those on their journeys, mainly on TikTok, and going to start the Zoom meetings as well. And I'm starting to draw up plans for the Wellness and Meditation Center. Not sure where it's going to be, but I know in my head what I want it to look like. And longer term, but not too long, hopefully, develop a small-ish community with like-minded people and families. What can I give for my exchange, and what do I need to receive? Continue to collaborate on projects, both for myself with others and by myself for others. And then I mentioned you've already mentioned this, but we just had a very dynamic collaborative meeting on the developing of a replacement for public school systems. And that's just an example of what I think works well. And I thought also that at some point, as this community grows, maybe people who are most interested in one area could be available to those who want to do something in that area. So, and that's it. And I love you guys because you are awesome. And listening to all these people is a true testimony of the success of the work you're doing. And you're helping so many people. And thank you.
Thank you, Patty, for doing the work with yourself, creating your journey, into that purpose and into the focus of what you choose. It's been an honor to walk this with you and to see the co-creations and the inspiration and also the aligned actions. Keep it up. Thank you for being here. We are nearing the end of today's roundtable. We have one presenter left, and that is Allison Glasser from New Hampshire, United States. Allison is a member of the Collective Planetary Impact Network, and she's worked with myself and Nyla for a very long time. She's a graduate of the QSE and RCP Masterclass Journey. Allison is a recovery coach and the creator of a back to self process that helps people choose to shift the cycles of addiction and step into a life that they love. She's a Quantum Shift Exploration Facilitator, a Discovery Key Experience Facilitator, and a guide of the reality creation process. She's proud of her own personal journey into recovery, getting clean and sober, and building a life that she loves. She feels a deep sense of accomplishment as she works to support a space for people who are committed to choosing a life beyond addiction. And a fun fact about Allison that I didn't know for years, even though I worked with her one-on-one for a very long time, is that Allison is a private flight attendant. And I knew the rest of this, but I didn't know she was a private flight attendant. And she has a passion for helping people consciously transform their lives into wholeness and loves using channeled light language frequencies. Welcome, Allison. It's great to have you here.
My name's Allison. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you, Josiah and Lee. And so much gratitude for everybody who's already shared the strength and the hope and the love and the experience and inspiration. It's just been so beautiful to listen to. So I'm actually really used to sharing my story in front of lots of people on various platforms, but not in like rapid fire. So we'll do our best here. So what are the core identities or key markers of your story that defined you in the past? So I've had a lot of identities. I'm sure many of us have, but if I were to pinpoint one, I would say the biggest marker that defined me in the past is the identity of addiction. Absolutely, without a doubt. Like many of you, I grew up being very sensitive to energy, felt emotions very deeply, my own emotions, emotions of others, and I was very uncomfortable with that. I, thankfully enough, actually had a really good childhood. I had everything I needed and wanted, had a beautiful family, grew up in the woods in New Hampshire, where I still live, and it was a really good childhood. As someone else had said, I was my own worst enemy. So as I progressed in age, those energies and emotions and just that intuition and all those things became a lot, and I didn't want to feel them. So I got really good at blocking off my emotions and blocking off people and isolating. And then when it got too much, when life got kind of lifey, as I got into, teenage age, I turned to substances. I reached for anything that could help me escape myself, pretty much. Instead of going within, I looked outside of myself. And for the next decade, until my late 20s, alcoholism, heroin addiction, meth, pills, anything I could get my hands on that would help me escape myself and the energy and emotion I was feeling within. So that's my core identity from the past. I do ironically still identify as an addict, but I now identify as a recovered addict since I do work in addiction, help a lot of people with addiction, and I think it's powerful to share my experience with others. So I saw Josiah on a TikTok randomly for the first time ever. He was doing this meditation, and I was like, this is a dude I want to connect with. And if you would have asked me then what my obstacles were, I would have been like, I don't have any obstacles. Like, I have a great life. Everything's peachy. I just want to meet some cool people and progress in life. And, I've always been a seeker, and I do light language and energy work. So I just kind of wanted to meet cool people. And I thought the one-on-one RCP just, it sounded amazing and I wanted to do it. So ironically, I didn't realize my obstacles until after I dove into RCP. And then I'm like, oh, here's a loop. Here's a pattern. Here's an obstacle. Like, I started noticing all these things, a lot of which stemmed from my decade in addiction. But luckily, I'd done a lot of work the years prior to joining RCP on myself in recovery. So, but there was a lot of subconscious, I don't like the word blockages, but issues that became more apparent through the course, which was really interesting. One thing I will say, though, a big obstacle that I was aware of is I felt very unworthy. Even all the work I had done on myself and the life that I was living, I still had aspects of unworthiness and insecurity to my core. And even though I was able to connect with myself, I still had issues with really going deep within and feeling emotions from just programming myself from not wanting to feel like those intuitive energies and stuff like that. Who would you have described yourself as before starting this process? Honestly, not too far off from who I am now. I would have described myself as like a loving, upbeat, caring, positive, energetic, spiritual galactic being. But everything got, all the positive aspects and everything, once I started integrating and shifting, got elevated once I joined RCP, if that makes any sense. So how has this community or the QSC RCP method supported you in shifting these obstacles, making things so much more apparent? I didn't realize the lack of awareness and perception that I actually had coming in. So when I did RCP and I was able to shift my awareness and just like blow up on my perception, that was huge. That was a big game changer for me. And like I said, it wasn't like these massive shifts that I really needed to make, but it was a lot of little things and a lot of little subconscious programs and things that I wasn't aware of. So the awareness was huge, and helping me see the power of making conscious choices was massive too. And then with the QSC, it was like, I had been meditating and doing, light work and all this stuff for years, but something about the QSC, that whole experience, helped me connect with myself on such a deeper level and get those answers from within, and really empowered me. It was absolutely beautiful. Now I am a woman that lives the life that she loves, but now with confidence, knowing my worth, with purpose again, with passion. I truly love life. I mean, life still gets, it's this reality, it still gets lifey, but it's at the same time, it's like I see all the blessings and all the magic and all the miracles, and it's just such an amazing journey. What are you creating now, and where are you going from here? So right now I'm creating, well, it's created, we're in the process of just like wrapping things up, tidying things up, a course. So this was brought about because Josiah and Lee and some of the facilitators, we noticed that there were some people wanting to come in and do the journey with us in RCP and QSC, and they'd either mentioned or put down on their little questionnaire that they were struggling with substance use disorder of some kind, some sort of addiction. And for me, addiction doesn't just have to be drugs and alcohol. I mean, it can be food, gambling, relationships. Addiction spans, a whole rainbow of colors. So we noticed a lot of people were struggling. So Josiah and Lee were like, listen, you have a lot of experience in this. I work at an OB clinic and I help pregnant women with substance use disorder. I help women in different programs, blah, blah, blah. Could you create something to assist these people, this community? And I was like, absolutely. And it has been super exciting. The course is going to be rolling out. It's going to be a group setting. It'll be rolling out at the end of September. We're going to do a community call on the 22nd, but it's going to be for anybody struggling with any kind of addiction, or maybe they have a family member, anybody who just needs the support. I have learned through the last several years that a lot of programs that help addicts and alcoholics keep them stuck in this cycle, in this loop of always needing to recovering. And it's good. I mean, it works for some people. But I've learned, especially after doing RCP and QSC, you can end that cycle. You don't always have to be recovering. You can be recovered. They say alcoholism and addiction is a disease. Okay, there is a cure. So I've created something that really tries to meet people where they're at. I think it's important to meet people where they are at, because people come from different places. Some people are willing to get clean and sober. Some people just have like a desire, but not the willingness. Some people like really want to and they don't know how. Some people have tried over and over and over again. So I've kind of culminated everything I've learned, my own experience, into this course. Very excited. I think what we're doing here right now is an amazing example of that. Sharing your experience, listening to other people, whether there are people on here that I've shared or there's people on here that are just listening, connecting with other people. Kevin said it, connection, whether you're an addict or not, humans need connection. So, and we've all been through so much stuff. We all have our own story. And I think sharing our stories with others and listening to other people's stories is such a huge component of that. I love that part of the multiple jobs that I have, the different hats that I wear. So I think that's the way I can support others and that others support me, is just sharing and connecting and vibing and jamming and all the beautiful things. So
Yes, Allison,
yeah.
you've closed out our day on what a powerful note. I love the thoughts. I love the perspective. And I have to say that that journey working with you and then everything that's come beyond it was absolutely so fulfilling to watch you create all of those integrations and then, continue forward. And now what we're collaborating on here is absolutely marvelous. And thank you for bringing that forward, creating that space. I'm really excited for what you're bringing out on the 22nd. For anybody that wants to know more about that, you will get an email and there will be a post in the Ateoa platform regarding it. So it'll be on the 22nd of September. Thank you so much, Allison. And I have a couple of thoughts in closing as we go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much to everyone that has shared. All of you are such profound and marvelous souls. And thank you to everyone that has hung out and listened and enjoyed this journey of who's here and the kind of shifts. I hope that you've gained inspiration. I've seen so many comments in the chat saying the word resonate, 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 resonate. Oh, that was me. This is my tribe. So if you feel like you found your tribe, come and be part of this space. Like really integrate in here, connect, show up to the community calls. You can get into the community calls on Friday very easily. They happen every single Friday midday. You can come and participate there and come to the weekly, or not the weekly, but the periodic events that we have in the Lightworkers Worldwide space in our app. There's one coming up this Saturday with Kevin. We recently did an 888 portal meditation. Many of you were probably there for that. Just to have the app installed on your phone, watch the notifications, and come participate in things like this. Because when we share our stories, it truly does help us remember who we are and we walk each other home. I love that. That's what Isla says all the time. We're not here to heal. We're not here to fix. We're not here to work on each other. We're here to walk each other home. And we all know where that home is, right? We define it. We find it within ourselves. We get our true north and we head off that direction. And then when we encounter a collective of people and we're all going the same way, it's a celebration. So today was an absolute honor to celebrate with you, to celebrate these journeys, to celebrate your successes, your challenges, your wins, your journeys, your alignments, and the growth that comes from it. I am absolutely excited to continue walking this journey, to see what gets created, because what's created so far has been awe-inspiring. And I want to share one more thing from a very personal note within me. There are times that as the creator of this container, I have wanted to quit. There have been times where I've almost shut it down. There was days early on, particularly, where the Ateoa platform almost didn't survive, where it almost vanished off the internet. And I almost quit. And inevitably, somebody, one of you, would show up and send a message somewhere around that time and share a thought or share an inspiration or share an epiphany or share something. And I would go, I can't. You inspired me to keep it going. And you inspired me very deeply again today and reminded me why it is that I do what I do. In my own journey, one of the things that I missed most was a space to share the journey with other people. It was not there during my awakening when I had to discover how to integrate and process, and I found tools, but not connection. And like Allison said, that connection is vital. It is important. It is necessary for life to occur. And so even though I went through an awakening and had all these tools and reprogrammed my mindset and I could create stuff, I still felt dead inside. And then the tribe began showing up. When I made a choice, here's a choice for everyone to take home. I choose to be surrounded by love and amazing people who are aligned with my soul's true nature and purpose. I choose to be surrounded by love and amazing people who are aligned with my soul's true nature and purpose. I made that choice. I chucked it into this thing called the reality creation process. You can think of it like a blender. You throw ingredients in and out comes a delicious smoothie of this whole mixed bag of people. And I aligned with every single word that I heard you guys share today. And there's one thing I'm taking away from this event. If ever any of you ever hear me say, I want to quit, it's hard, send me the replay of this and say, sit down and watch it. Don't stop till it's finished, because at the end, I'll have to listen to myself say this. And I'll remember why I'm here, where I'm going, and I'll have the inspiration to keep going. So thank you for, unleashing a fiery passion within me again, expanding that fire within my own heart and strengthening it for the next phase of my journey. That's what I'm taking home from this space. I hope you all take something similar home from this space. If you've just been tuning in and listening, thank you for receiving that. If it's your first time here in this community, welcome home. Welcome to Ateawa. The word Ateawa, the name of our platform, means a space for all that is love and all that is life. And it's an honor to have each of you here on that journey. I'll see you on the flip side of your next quantum shift. And for all the presenters here today, I'm excited for our Monday chat because we've got a lot to dive into and break down and talk about now that I know each of you deeper, because I learned things about all of you that in spite of all the work we've done together that I didn't know. So thank you for being open, vulnerable, sharing your hearts, and inspiring others along this journey. We'll see you on the flip side.